Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 384. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Peter, I'm home.
This is a DC Comics podcast. We talk about our DC Comics every week that we read. It's that simple. Matt threw me off there with the reference that I was not expecting. I was trying to catch my train of thought. So coming up on today's show, we have, I think, 10 books in total. I read 8 books, but Matt went above and beyond and
Yes.
outdid me by 2. So coming up on today's show, we got Titans Beast World issue 1, Detective Comics 1078, Action Comics 1059, The Flash issue 3, Green Arrow issue 6, The Penguin issue 4, Amazon's Attack issue 2, Alan Scott Green Lantern issue 2, Power Girl issue 3, and City Boy issue 6. There we go.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Also, Flash might have broken my brain getting caught up on 2 books in a row, but it also might have made me understand it better. So
That's
fair.
We'll
get there.
Yeah, we'll get into all the stuff. But yeah, big list of books again. Yeah, it was just a couple of months ago where I felt like half the month was really quiet, and now I feel like all the weeks except maybe week 1, which is next week, are pretty packed. As that said, a few of the books have been ending. Obviously, City Boy's last issues this week, so we'll see how things shape up. But
I feel like those darker books, City Boy, Spirit World, and The Vigil, have now been replaced by the Justice Society books. Right?
Yeah,
so
kinda. Yeah, it feels like that, I guess. Yeah.
Jay Garrick, Alan Scott, and Sandman. So
yeah, it was a straight 3-for-3 swap. So
yeah,
they just overlapped a little bit, but that makes sense. Yeah, we'll get to all the books. There's no news again, really, this week, I don't think. There's nothing I saw. I think Zack Snyder was got on about how he doesn't care if it was bots that got his movie made. He's just happy it got made, so fair play. Can't argue with that.
Sure. People have been sharing stuff from The Flash, and I went back and watched Blue Beetle, and I was like, maybe I'll get to Flash. These people are doing me a favor because they're making me never want to see it. So thank you, people on Twitter.
I'm just good. I have no desire to watch most of the superhero movies that have come out in the last year or two.
If I'm gonna hate on something, I want to be well qualified to hate on it. You know what I mean? But now that I'm being shown different segments, I'm just kind of like, hey, I'm okay.
Yeah. There's more interesting things to care about. There's a new Godzilla movie out, Matt, and
I was gonna say,
very good buzz.
Everybody I know that have seen it has been like, this is an 11 out of 10 movie. So, and I've never seen a Japanese Godzilla movie in the theater. So, if I have some time, I might have to.
It's not out here till the 15th, and it's very, very limited. I think my theater has 2 showings of it, and that's it. Not like, I don't even just mean 2 days. No, it's 2 showings, and that's it, and it's gone. So
are you going to the earlier one or the later one?
Well, I have booked a ticket. So I'll be there, and it's a Christmas treat to myself because we're not doing it on Ace until it's at home for the digital release. Yeah. But I decided I wanted to go see it anyway because I too have never seen a Japanese Godzilla movie in the theater. I've seen many of them at home, but never in the theater. Yeah. So, but with all the buzz it's getting, I couldn't resist snapping up. And when I went to book the ticket, like half the seats were gone because there's only 2 showings, so they're filling out.
I mean, that's good. I mean, the last couple times I've gone to the theater, it's been empty. So if Godzilla's bringing people in, great.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather I had more showings and I could go to a quieter the time, but
not have to people. I get that one.
Yeah, less people the better and all that, but so I'm looking forward to that. That'll be my last hurrah in the theater before the end of the year.
Yeah, there's not much coming out. We try to go to the movies around Christmas. We'll go maybe on Christmas or the day after, and there's really nothing that's catching me.
It's just Wonka or your movie theater's probably playing some classic Christmas movies, and that's about it. That's your options.
So that's a bit sad because sure, I'll watch that Willy Wonka, but I'm not spending $12.
Well,
on Christmas.
I know the strikes did push a few things, because Dune Part 2 was meant to be around now, but that's not until March now. There's a few other things like that. Because they wanted the cast to be able to promote it, so... Yeah, some things got pushed back. Although next year's looking... There was the Furiosa trailer came out just yesterday. There was TV show wise, there was trailers for both The Boys season 4 and Fallout today. Do
you think I'll be able to, not knowing anything about Fallout except for the grand idea, do you think I'll be able to tune in and appreciate it?
I think it's clearly been designed as something for anyone to jump in.
Because the stuff that I've seen, it looks pretty dope. Like it looks kind of my vibe. It
looks pricey. It looks like they've spent money on it. It's got an interesting cast. Ella Purnell's the lead, but it's also got Benjamin Linus from Lost. What's his name? Michael Emerson. That's the one. Walton Goggins is in there. Kyle MacLachlan's in there. So there's a interesting array of people in it.
Some very heavy hitting character actors.
Yeah. Plus, Jonathan Nolan is the one behind it.
Okay.
Which could go a couple of ways, because Westworld season 1 was great, and then it sort of started to really decline after that. However, I am currently going through Person of Interest, which he also created, and that has only been getting better the more I've watched it. And
that had Ben Linus in it too, right?
It did, yeah. He was one of the main characters.
So he was.
So, and from fans of that show, it sounds like everyone who loved the show loved it all the way through, and it stuck the landing. So hopefully it's more Person of Interest than Westworld, based on my experiences with both.
I was going to say, I enjoyed that first season of Westworld as well. And then I just never went back. Because it was primarily you and some other friends were like, might want to watch something else.
I mean, I like some stuff in season 2. Like, season 2 still had a lot of good things in it, but 3's where it got really shaky. And then when it came back for 4, I watched one episode and realized that they were just making all the same mistakes that they'd already done. And I was like, okay, I'm just done. And then it got cancelled at the end of season 4, and it's like, the biggest feeling I had when Westworld got cancelled is that I was sad that I didn't care. That's how I felt. I wasn't mad that it got cancelled. I was sad that I didn't give a shit. Right? Given how much I was into it in season 1, that was kind of a big sort of sad state of affairs. But so lots of trailers coming out in the last few days, and hyping some 2024 things. So we got plenty to look forward to. Obviously, there'll be comics all year. There's always comics all year. There's nothing to be concerned about there. But with that said, Matt, we'll get to your favorite segment, which is the ComiXology Top 10. So we'll look at Tuesday and Wednesday, because that's how they're split up on the Kindle store page. They're ranked by sales figures. We don't get to see what those sales figures are, of course, but we can see the rankings. So, Matt, would you like to guess what number 1 DC book is from Tuesday?
I am. I'm going to go with the big event, and I'm going to say Titans Beast World.
It is. That was easy. Yeah, those. I mean, Tom Taylor doing his first event. I think it's a little deceptive, because in some ways Deceased felt like an event, but obviously it was like an Elseworld. It was a separate thing. This is him doing his line-wide style event, but in the main continuity, and with ongoing characters that he's already writing. So it was actually really interesting getting into it, because it was like, this is just like another issue of Titans. We effectively just have double shipping Titans now with this event going on, which,
I forgot that he knows how to rip your heart out and show it to you. I forgot about that, because his Titans, his Nightwing, and even his Superman books they all err on the lighter side, and they can get these emotional moments, but there hasn't been really anything quite like Deceased. And I feel like Beast World's going to go there, just based off the first issue. So
we'll talk about that later. But that's number 1. Number 2 is Action Comics 1059.
Yes.
Number 3 is Batman 89 issue 1.
Echoes.
No, I said it that way because it's written that way. On ComiXology, it says Batman 89 issue 1 : Echoes.
Yeah, that's very awkward.
Yeah, that's weird. I feel like it's just a mistake in the format and whoever's input the data. But
Yep.
number 4 is Alan Scott Green Lantern, which I'm surprised it's that high, but fair enough. Number 5 is The Flash, issue 3. 6 is Green Arrow. 7 is Detective Comics. That been under Green Arrow hurts my soul a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Guys, start buying Detective, please.
Yes, Detective is very good right now. Number 8 is Batman Brave and the Bold. Number 9 is Power Girl, and number 10 is Amazon's Attack.
Okay.
With Penguin just missing out in number 11. Yeah. On the one hand, it's a Penguin book, so fair enough. But on the other hand, it's a Tom King book, so...
Yeah, but I do feel like people, maybe the buzz has gone out and they'll just kind of wait to see for the first trade to see where that goes. You know? I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that's the DC stuff. And then City Boy's down at like 15, 16. Yeah, so it's a bit more, murky after that. The first half of Danger Street did come out in collection this week, though, so...
Yeah.
That's there in the list. As is Batman The Dark Knight Detective Volume 8. This is the collection of Detective Comics post-Crisis. So it's just nice to see that still going. If I click on it, just to have a look, it says Chuck Dixon is the author of this one, so I guess he was working on Detective at the time.
Okay.
This is issue 644 to 653, plus an annual. So, cool. Nice to see them digitizing, the complete runs of things and whatnot.
Right.
Alright, so looking at Wednesday then, which is when Marvel and the rest of the industry put out their...
I didn't forget we were doing that, but I started looking at covers while we were doing that, and I don't have it up yet, so give me a second. There we go. We're good now.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the start of my list here, because... Oh, here we go. Did it not make it easy to find where that break was in this big list? Alright, so number 1 on Wednesday, Matt. What are you saying?
Okay, let me see this because... Oh, there's no way that's number 1. I'm not getting any Marvel at the top, so... Looks like they put them on alphabetical. Shoot. I'm sure there was an X book. I remember seeing it at the shop. I'm looking for it.
Maybe more than one.
Yeah. Well, there's Realm of X. I see that one there. Why are these in alphabetical? This is stupid. Leah Comic Geeks did me dirty. I'm trying to get down to the X books. I'll just say Realm of X because I can't. There's no rhyme or reason to any of this right now.
That is incorrect, Matt.
Okay. I have no other guesses because everything's across the board. It's all alphabetical, so...
Okay, well, number 1 is X-Men Blue Origins, issue 1.
That would have been my guess had they... There we go.
Yeah.
Even then, no, that didn't even show up over here. This is making me upset. I'm just going to close it out and start new. So, X-Men Blue, do we know what that's about?
Oh, I don't know. It's Cy Spurrier, who we'll be talking about later on.
Gotcha.
Francis Manipul's involved with it as well, by the looks of the...
Ah, all right.
Number 2 is Amazing Spider-Man and Gang War. Number 3 is Realm of X. Number 4 is Miss Marvel, the New Mutant. Number 5 is Predator versus Wolverine. Number 6 is Captain America. Number 7, Spider-Woman. Number 8 is Saga, Volume 11. So that is actually a little interesting in that the trade, the collection of Saga, is actually beating some single issues from Marvel here. So that's kind of cool. Number 9 is Luke Cage, Gang War. I guess Gang War's an event.
Crossover.
Yeah. Number 10 is Moon Knight. And then there's even more Marvel after that. But there's also Something is Killing the Children at 13. And then once you're past 15, you get a lot of the other indie stuff coming in. There's Crave, Local Man, Savage, Red Sonja. Red Sonja is always a thing in comics. There's just a very small, dedicated audience who just love buying those comics with the almost naked chick on the front cover.
Yeah, there's a guy at my shop, and I don't know his name, but they order specifically for him, and it makes me laugh all the time. Because they try to his number is near mine, near my pull box, and they've given me his books by accident once, and it was I wasn't ready for that.
Red Sonja, anime schoolgirls, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I looked up the X-Men Blue, and it looks like it's in like an origins tile story. So this was the origin of Nightcrawler, since his little clones are taking center stage right now.
Yeah.
So that was the. I don't know if you saw any of the story this week about,
I think I saw that his origin
heritage
had been changed.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it.
So that was that book. So that makes sense why that came in so hot. And why it was kind of all over the conversations.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's a ComiXology top 10. A lot of Marvel on Wednesday. Interesting that the one indie book we had in the top 10 wasn't even a single issue, it was a collection, which shows you that Saga still does very well in collections.
Yeah.
So, there we go. That'll take us on, I think, to the books. We'll get into it. Titans, Beast World, issue 1. Tom Taylor writing with Ivan Reis on the art. So, this, of course, there's some things in here that obviously we were always going to read the Tom Taylor ongoing anyway. But there's definitely a couple things in here that if you have been reading Titans that you are rewarded for, because you'll understand some references and some setup, particularly to Beast Boy splitting himself up, and the idea that if he loses any part of himself, it's taking a part of him away.
I love that he has seeded that through issue 2 of Titans to now, because it made all of that stuff really land harder.
Yeah, it hit so well here. So this issue would absolutely work for someone who hasn't been reading Titans, but even just Brother Eternity and all this stuff. We just have so much context as soon as this starts, because he's on the news talking to everyone, basically saying, we're the future, we're sending people to Titan, which by the way, that's one of the things here, is that we're dealing with the moon Titan on Saturn, and it's just a fun little play on things, because we're doing a Titans book.
Yeah, I like that, but I also, Despero's from Titan. So I was thinking, is this playing into Despero, right?
Well, not yet, but...
Yeah, but
doesn't
I
mean
will
it
say
can.
to you, always be wary of a church that has a space program. They sent these astronauts to Titan in this spaceship with money, it seemed like, from the church. So yeah, just be wary, guys.
Do any churches on Earth actually have a space program?
I don't know. But
I hope not.
I would not give them my money if they did. That's all I'm saying.
It would be Scientology if there was.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it. I just remember lawyers. I didn't say anything.
Yeah. So, these astronauts go to Titan. Meanwhile, there's this narration kind of summing up the cycle of superheroes, where there's despair, but then there's inspiration, and then hope, then triumph, or whatever. And that's kind of seeded here. But we get these astronauts landing on Titan, finding what looks like some kind of structure, something that's been built. It's not a natural occurrence. And then Brother Eternity starts speaking in Tamaranian, and immediately we cut to Titan's tower, and Starfire's losing her shit.
Yeah, and it's not even Tamaranian. It's old Tamaranian.
Yeah, it's ancient.
On top of it. Yeah. Which is never good. Anytime I've seen enough movies that when someone starts speaking in a dead language, something bad's about to happen.
So it feels really big in scope. The Titans are all getting their boom tube ready to go to Titan and try and save the astronauts, because there's turmoil happening. There's earthquakes and stuff, and the astronauts are in trouble. So 4 of the Titans go. Raven kisses Beast Boy before he goes with the team that's going on the mission, which is Starfire, Donna, Cyborg, and Raven goes, not Beast Boy. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
So they go, but the astronauts are already dead, and Raven senses a heartbeat, and I love the lettering on this. You just see this tum tum, it comes in slowly and small. And then it gets bigger down the page, and then you turn the page, and it's really big. So it feels like it's building and building.
Well, and it feels like it's completely enveloped her entire senses.
Yeah. So they all move because the entire moon rips apart. It turns out that there's a goddamn Titan inside Titan.
Yeah, there's a conqueror like Starro.
Yeah.
Which I do like. Like, I know I'm going to come off as hypocritical because we always talk about other writers just doing like, oh, this is the bad version of X. However, seeing that there's other kinds of Star Conquerors, not just Starro, I do like what that does for the DC universe as a whole, right? Because it's a big galaxy. So adding another one of these things, I don't necessarily think is too much. And then when you see what it can do, and it's completely different than Starro, I think is a nice touch.
Yeah, I mean, Starro was already a villain, so I don't really think it is just an example of here's the bad version of something anyway.
Or a different version of. I'm talking like the power rings, right? You know how that kind of got out there. So the fact like this is the Necro Star, which also sounds metal as hell. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, so this thing appears, and then Starfire's explaining to everyone, and I do mean everyone, like Superman, Batman are all there. You got everyone in this room that's currently active, and she's explaining what the Necrostar is, and that ancient Tamaranians had to try and fight this thing, which was difficult because this thing could control people, and it seems that these parasites that are being put into people's mouths are actually coming from it. Like, that's sort of part of its chain of technology, if you will. So she whips out this big book. It's like, here's the star, and here's the thing. And it's like, well, how did you fight it? Well, we didn't. This did. And we find out that, and this is the thing, it's not just that it's another thing like Starro, it's that Starro and this thing fought back in like ancient times in Tamaranian lore. They had a giant fight, and the fight weakened both of them so much that the Tamaranians were able to imprison it, freeze it into like a moon form, and it seems that Brother Eternity, who we know is Tamaranian from Titans, seems to worship it and wants to wake it up, wants to do something, you know, like we were getting, we're kind of getting this as we're being fed the information throughout the issue.
Yeah. So a little backstory of Starfire too, and this also, that Tales of the Titan Starfire kind of added a little bit of background to this, is that when he blows that thing up and he's saying the stuff in Tamaranian, she recognizes that he's saying death to X-Hall, right? X-Hall is the Tamaranian god that Starfire's in the image of, right? That's how she gets her star bolts and all of this, is her, you know, when she was experimented on, it was to unlock like the powers of X-Hall. So just the idea of Brother Eternity being from this different cult of Tamaran, you know, that seems to be in opposition of Starfire's, you know, her, you know, whatever system she came from. I think that's another nice little wrinkle to the Titans' backstories. Yeah.
I think this idea that he's an opposing force who is against what most Tamaranians believe in, and wants to wake this thing up for, and I'm sure we'll get further embellishments on exactly what he wants and why he worships it as we go through the event. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I thought this instantly had a lot of cool mythology to it. The idea that Starro fought it once, and when they're like, "Hey, this thing's on its way to Earth. Do we just go get Starro? Is that the only option here?" And that's what Batman wants to do. And then Beast Boy chimes in and says, what your plan is to just get another Star Conqueror to fight it? And Batman's, well, do you have another plan? And he's like, yeah, actually, I think I do. So we don't hear what the plan is. We just see it be enacted in the back half of the issue. Raven can sense it in him as he's sort of alluding to it. But Dick sticks up for him and says, no, this is my team. I trust them. Let's do what Beast Boy wants. So the entire Justice League and all of the, not that Justice League's active right now, but you know what I mean, all of the heroes all prep for what Beast Boy's about to do, which is Beast Boy, well, he becomes a whale first, but then he becomes a Starro, or as he puts it, a Garrow.
So at first when Batman is like, we have to get Starro, I was like, where's Jarro? Right? Like, is this Tom Taylor reintroducing Jarro? And just the way that Batman talks down to Gar and Dick sticking up for him, I really liked, right? Because that just shows kind of the difference between Bruce and Dick as leaders. Whereas, not that he diminishes Gar, but he doesn't take him seriously because Beast Boy's never given Bruce a reason to take him seriously, right? He's just kind of like his son's goofy friend. So when he's throwing out ideas, Batman's really dismissive. But I like that Dick comes to Gar's like aid and is like, no, like, let's hear him out. I trust him. He's one of my best friends. I like that part of it. And then, yeah, him becoming Garo. I had no idea that was going to happen, right?
It felt like a big deal. This felt like a lot of what Tom Taylor did in Deceased, where he would use characters in ways in which felt natural to the lore, but was obviously in the context of the zombie apocalypse. But it felt like everything came from this idea of using what's established to do something. And he's obviously added to Beast Boy's lore in these past few issues of Titans to set this up. But this felt like, oh no, like, Beast Boy is going supernova. And that page, like, so he's in his mind talking to Raven, and Raven's basically giving him the pep talk. And she's also, like, sharing the pain of what he's doing because it's actually extremely painful for him to do this.
Yes.
The page after that, which is, like, this, like, monstrous mix of different creatures that he's becoming as he's trying to get bigger, as he's trying to become a Starro, effectively, is grotesque. It's beautiful. I love it. And it's during this because Starfire is very adamant. The big problem with this thing, with the Necrostar, is that when its parasites get to you, it takes over, right? So when we see it take over Shazam, we're like, oh shit, now Shazam's going to be fighting for the bad guys, right? Now we've got heroes that have got superpowers that are going to be a problem. And immediately in comes little Garo, the little green star, and goes into Shazam's mouth and like pulls it out. Yeah,
that was grotesque too, right? Like,
oh yeah, it's disgusting.
It's leading into body horror, and I love it.
And Gar even says, "Yes, this is disgusting. I'm literally in like 10,000 people's mouths right now, pulling out other parasites. It's gross." But it felt like Beast Boy all of a sudden has felt more important than he ever has done in this issue.
Taylor's found his untapped potential, you know? And I was going to say about him becoming the Whale, that was another thing we saw in the Tales of the Teen Titans, is that issue where he runs into the guy that, you know, is a werewolf. One of the things Gar does is turn into a massive whale just because he's spreading his, you know, as before he goes into battle, it's kind of like to prep himself, you know, size-wise for what he has to do. And so here when he says that he becomes a whale to stretch his brain, right?
Yeah, he's talking about how the whale's got a bigger brain than him, so this literally helps him think and sort of plan better.
And so that was another thing that, like, I don't know if it was just by chance that they kind of seeded in there in those Tales of the Titan books. So I think that's really, you know, whether or not it was seeded in there, it worked out really well.
I mean, given that you've referenced 2 of the issues so far, I feel like they probably were seeded. It feels like they were setting up some details that are paying off now that we're in this event. So yeah, we get these big, gorgeous splash pages of Garo fighting the Necrostar, and just the others being in shock, watching Beast Boy fly up as this giant star. It feels like this big cosmic battle, and it's a Cyborg comes to try and like help, basically make a giant boom tube for to hit Necrostar into like the furthest part of the universe. Like, hey, go off to this black hole, just stay there, and you'll never bother anyone again.
It's the doomsday principle, right? Where just send him to another galaxy where he's someone else's problem.
And it seemingly kind of works, although Beast Boy does lose one of his 5 arms in the boom tube. It closes on his arm, so he's very upset about that. And it's like, oh wait, like he just succeeded. Like, so take out what's about to happen. Beast Boy had this idea to fight this big thing, and it worked. He's the hero here. He saved the entire universe, or at least our galaxy.
He saved our solar system at least.
Yeah, he
From
saved
the Necrostar.
He saved everyone on Earth with his idea, and it was this big glorious thing. And just when you're like feeling the victory, you're feeling the awe, and you're happy about it, and you're feeling great, then all of a sudden, like, Cyborg's not responding, and then who shows up? We get Dr. Hate, who was set up at the end of the last event, and specifically did say that we're going to see him next time in Beast World. That this was a character being set up for Beast World. So it was almost like it lulled you into like a sense of like forgetting to set that up. Just it's like, oh, because I was wondering like, well, he can't win against this big thing because otherwise, what's the event? And then
we had known.
Then he does win, and then it's like, oh no. This is what the event. This is what's really going to be going on now.
So what got me is I know from the little reading of the solicits that we've done, I remember hearing about the Beast Boy spores. So I just thought maybe something happened by accident. Maybe as we're reading the necro, spores and the Garo spores, maybe it's something had happened. I wasn't expecting Dr. Hate, right, to pop up right here and now, and kind of be the inciting incident for the rest of it.
Yeah, I definitely like this appearance way more than that first appearance where he was just kind of like, hey, this is a new character working with Waller, and it's probably someone we know under the helmet. In fact, he shows Gar who he is, although he specifically says, let me show you exactly what I am. He doesn't say who, he says what I am. And then Gar says, we don't get to see who it is, obviously, but Gar sees it and says, you? How? Like, that's his reaction. So he recognizes whoever this is.
Yeah.
That's important. So maybe we could have some speculation, but Dr. Hate steps in here and does something with whatever power he has, and Raven screams out because she can't feel Gar's mind anymore. Says he's not there, and we just see what's left. So it's basically like his mind is gone, and all that's left is the monster that he became at the end. So now Gar himself is now the threat to Earth, because now he is actually some kind of Starro-like being. So it's interesting, and the issue ends with one of his little stars, the little parasites, going inside Black Adam, and not only does it, I mean, maybe it does take control still, but there's a key effect that happens that's different from the parasites of the Necrostar, and this is the setup for what the book, the event has been billed as, is that it's Beast World. All the characters who get infected are going to turn into some kind of animal version of whoever they are. So Black Adam here looks like a lion, I would say.
Yeah.
He's got a lion head.
Which makes sense. He's a king. It makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say he's still walking on two legs though. He's not. Yeah. But the idea is, he's got. So I think that's like, okay. Now you get at the end. This is why it's called Beast World. Now it makes sense why it's called that, and now it makes sense that this isn't really Gar that's doing this, but it's like his husk in his absence because his mind has been taken by Dr. Hate. I thought this was a great first issue of an event. I was super into all this.
Yeah. And like you said, I didn't make the deceased connection of the type of big story swings that Tom Taylor does and works with. And that's what this is full of. So like, it's kind of Tom Taylor 101, and I love it for that. So, but yeah, the whole not realizing about the Necro star and him pulling all that out and then adding the Tamaranian mythology, and just it made it actually feel like an event in ways that some of these other, like the ones that came before it, really didn't. Right? That those were all just like stories that were having offshoots. This felt like a big, like DC altering event, right?
Yeah, and it really does feel like the concept came from, well, what if somehow Beast Boy infects everyone else and they all turn to animal versions of themselves? That feels like it's the core, simple, like almost silly idea that the whole thing's built around. but the way that we've gotten to that point is actually really entertaining and kind of awesome. And it's raised Beast Boy up as a character in terms of what he's capable of. I do wonder if they somehow nerf him a little bit by the end of this. Like, oh, we get him back, but he can't do anything bigger than an elephant now.
Yeah, it's curious because of Dark Crisis, right? When he gets shot, and he had that whole, him wearing the eye patch and him having the PTSD, on it. So I'm wondering if that's going to be the kind of mental block that he has, where he's like, I can't do anything like this ever again. So he stops becoming swarms and whatever, because he loses too much of himself. So I'm wondering if it'll be more his choice than anything else.
Well, maybe. Maybe.
And then on top of that, like, we know that each of those beings that, that's him, right? Each of the little Garros that go through, but also that giant limb that went off with the Necrostar.
Yep.
So there's another Gar possibly out in the far part of the universe. So I'm wondering if that's gonna pop back up. Maybe that's the thing that brings him back.
Yeah, I don't think that the part of him that get cut off will be another Gar, right? I don't think that happens, but I could see it being, like you say, either somehow a link to him that they somehow use later, or possibly it's actually a link for the Necrostar to come back to Earth, because it's got this sort of, I don't want to say homing beacon, but the idea that Gar's arm will have some sort of like connection to the rest of them that it can follow or something. I don't know. I could see something like that maybe. I also like the idea that if all of these little stars that are part of Beast Boy, right? Because there's a big one, but then there's all the little ones that are infecting the various characters, like Black Adam here at the end, as the example we get. Is that technically that means if Gar comes back before they've all turned back, he will be like in all of them. He will be like kind of, maybe not in control, but in some level, maybe part of how they like save him later on is by having everyone who's infected, or at least all the good characters who are infected, actively try and kind of like, not reach out, but like show Gar that they care about him by all thinking about him at the same time, and kind of like drawing a connection to him or something. Like, I don't know, like I feel like there's possibilities here, because they've set up that no, all of these little stars are all connected to Gar. So on some level, maybe like sort of wrestling him back is going to be everyone kind of using them to communicate with them or something. I don't know. Like there's possibilities here.
For sure.
Yeah. No, I thought this was great. Obviously the big splash pages were great. The Ivan Reis, he does good event art. He's kind of like, he's like peak DC house style, I guess, in a lot of ways, as Ivan Reis. But I think it felt like, okay. One, I like that Titans felt like pretty essential reading. It felt like I was being rewarded for knowing a lot of these details already. I also felt like, because it doesn't go into a lot of detail about Brother Eternity being Tamaranian. We know that from Titans. Here, you just have Starfire reacting to what he's saying, but it doesn't actually necessarily outright, thingy.
No, it's not like he wiped off the makeup again like he did at the end of Titans. He's just speaking old Tamaranian.
Yeah. That said, though, does he not say his real name in this?
I'd have to go back and look. I don't have it open in front of me.
Because he says something like, that's not my name when he's talking. Maybe he doesn't actually say what his real name is. I'm thinking about it.
Right, because I thought he was taking as Brother Eternity. That's not who he really is. Because he's just posing. But yeah, I also want to know what's going on with those spores. Like, were those Necro Star spores?
I think so.
That infected Linda.
Yeah, because remember in Titans, they had a meteor in their church. Presumably that came from Titan.
Was from that. That's right. Okay.
I think that makes sense. That makes complete sense to me. That's good stuff.
But yeah, there it is. Titans. But yeah, no, he's a good villain that, like, there's still an air of mystery to him, which I appreciate. Even though we know he's Tamaranian, but why is he doing all this? Would have he done this? Did he go out and search out the Necrostar and that's why. So he's almost,
Yeah, so
like
I'm looking at the page now.
Subject.
I'm looking at the page now. He doesn't say what his name is. He just says, no, that's not my name, implying that he has a real Tamaranian name. I do wonder, I mean, unless he turns out to be Dr. Hate, but I feel like Gar's reaction does not tell me it's him. It tells me it's something that's a bit more personal to either him or the Titans in general.
Yeah.
So, but what's interesting to me here, though, is that what does Brother Eternity do now that, the very thing that he was trying to unleash upon the world has been sent, to the furthest reaches of space? Like, how does he react to Garrow? What does he make of Beast World? Because he's been set up here at the start, and so much of the first chunk of the issue, because this is an oversized issue, of course, the first part of the issue is all focused on him making this speech and the reveal of what's in Titan. But then by the end of the issue, we shift very much to a different threat, and now Beast Boy himself is kind of the threat, although he's not really in there, if that makes sense. And Dr. Hate's the real antagonist. But I know Tom Taylor's not going to do all this setting up of Brother Eternity if he's not going to factor into this event in a big way. So I'm very curious as to how he's going to fit into the rest of this now. And what does he try and do now that his plans have been kind of foiled? Does he try and work with what he's been given in terms of Garrow? Does he try and sort of pivot to that? Does he want to fight that because it's not the true god that he worships? Or I don't know. Like I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah, because Dr. Hate and Brother Eternity have nothing to do with each other as far as we know.
Unless it's him under the mask, which is entirely possible. But I don't think so.
But like, it's the way that Gar says it. I think it's someone from the Titans past.
Yeah, that was exactly my thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, and because so it's a character that we maybe haven't seen in a minute that possibly is, as far as we know, dead. So. Like, what are Hawk and Dove up to? Like, is it one of them? You know what I mean? Like, because remember, it was the gods of order that gave Waller the power to make Dr. Hate. It was a Council of Light or whatever that was. So something along those lines, or like, with all the amount, and I know they don't really have much to do with each other with Justice Society, but like with all the talk that Salem the Witch Girl is doing against Khalid, like what if it's the older Dr. Fate, not Kent, but the other one? Is it Hector? Hector Hall, the son of Hawkman? Like, what if it's him taking up the helm? And he hasn't been seen in a while, but it's definitely somebody that Gar would have known from before. And I don't think he's that close with.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is I don't think Gar would have that much of a reaction for him.
Yeah.
Compared to other people, so I'm not sure.
So.
I mean, I guess technically, I was going to joke and say Roy Harper, but because I was thinking maybe it would make sense that it's someone who used to be a Titan or a Teen Titan. But he's in Green Arrow right now, so I don't know how that.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot going on with him in Shoes / Leon.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they would do that. That seems to be too messy. But I mean, it gives me a reason to not like. I realize that Roy has entered the Jason part where it's just fun to make fun of him. So, yeah.
Yep. So no, lots of big stuff. I think the scope of it felt huge. It felt like an event should compare to the ongoing book, where it feels like, oh no, this does feel like a big deal. And the fact that we're getting, I think, 2 issues a month plus Titans means that I think the pacing is going to feel quite nice. Obviously, I'm pretty sure all the issues aren't as oversized as this one. Maybe I'm wrong. I've not checked, but there's some glorious stuff here. The big 2-page spread of Necrostar coming out of the Titan moon, which, by the way, it's really funny to me that Titan the moon is just now not there in DC continuity.
Yeah.
It's just been ripped apart by the creature from within.
But given that it's comics and stuff, I'm sure they could fix it. Just slam it back together with some superhero powers.
Yeah, but will they even bother? I don't think they will.
I don't know, but again, because I just thought there's so much, like, again, Desperos from Titan. You have in the Legion of Superheroes, Emra, Saturn Girl. She's from the Moon of Titan. So it is a pretty big, like it is a place in DC. So just to be gone now. So I mean, maybe just this chunk. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe it's not completely gone. I mean, it looks like the entire thing's going to me, the way it's coming, like that big 2-page splash, the way it's like coming out. But I suppose you could argue that it's just the surrounding ground. But they do mention later that this thing is as big as a continent. So this makes me think that this is the entire side of the moon exploding.
Yeah, it could be. But God, if he's the size of the continent too, how big has Starro always been drawn? Right? Because like Starro's like city-sized when he shows up. So who knows? That's just one of those things I can't think about too much.
Yeah.
Because that means Gar was the size of a continent.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. And also, to be fair, they do show that Starro is smaller than the Necrostar, like in the book when Starfire's showing them off.
Yeah, but he's bulkier. So like, Starro looks like what you think of a traditional sea star, whereas the Necrostar looks like one of those kind of feathery, spindlier sea stars that you see in like aquariums that don't look nearly as sturdy. I don't know. Have you ever held a sea star, Pete? Where they feel like rocky.
I think so.
Yeah.
Although I don't call them sea, I call them starfish, but yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, no. Well, technically they're not fish. They're an invertebrate, so they're a sea star. There's no fish to them.
I mean that's fair, but half the words that end in the word berry aren't actually berries, so who cares?
True. I am just sticking true to my zoological, nerddom here. It's not a koala bear. It's a koala. It's a marsupial. So same with the sea star. It's not a fish, but yeah. Either way, it is bulkier, Starro, compared to the Necro. So I also like that it wasn't just like a darker color Starro, right? It had its own like wispy kind of. It felt evil. It had like tentacles instead of arms.
Yeah, it looks. It just looks more gross, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's got sort of spiky bits. It feels like it's got a big kind of anus mouth with teeth in the middle of it, which feels different.
Which that's what it is. Knowing sea star biology, it's one whole. It does both. So spot on there, Pete.
Lovely.
Also, and not to go into this too much too, sea stars are one of the few creatures that can clone itself. So if you chop off one of the arms, but as long as it has one of the center sections still attached, it'll grow a whole new sea star off that one arm, and the sea star's other arm will grow back.
You think that's maybe seeding stuff for Beast Boy then?
Maybe that's what made me think it. I'm not going to bet anything on that's what it is. I think you're more close in that it's just a device for maybe to bring back the evil Starro, the Necrostar in the future,
Or alternatively, the heroes have to go find that arm because that arm will have a part of the real Beast Boy still inside it, and then they can use that to get to the rest of the real him, wherever he is.
And that's what I was kind of thinking along those lines. But again, he's Beast Boy, not an actual sea star. So it's not necessarily that those, laws of physics and science apply to him. But it's just something worth noting and makes me, seem smart for knowing that. So I watched way too much Animal Planet as a kid. And an adult.
I don't think you could say about yourself that something's made you seem smart, man. That's for other people to decide.
I'm gonna say that it made me sound smart. That's just all.
Okay, well, we'll go with that. So, no, I think this book ends off in an interesting predicament. I think the scope is there. I think the characters feel that there's a lot of weight to the moments where Gar's leveling up to do this. His moments with Raven, I think, land really well. And then the concept by the end that it sets up with Black Adam turning into a lion is kind of fun and looks cool in the art, and I'm curious to see what other heroes or villains get turned into various types of creatures.
Yeah, the part of me that just wants to see what they're gonna do. Like, what if one of these things get on Superman? What does he become?
An eagle.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And also, just as a Starfire fan, seeing her take she's not taking center stage, but she seems to be very important, at least early on in this. Like, she's the one that addresses everybody with the Necrostar. She leads that team, onto Titan and all that stuff. I like that Tom Taylor, it is a Titans book, right? Like, yes, this was Gar's main thing, but Starfire and Raven and Cyborg all have very important roles in the book. None of them feel like just background characters.
To be fair, we might not even see Beast Boy for a little bit.
Yeah.
We might go to wherever he is, and he might get like a subplot running alongside like everyone else doing their thing.
Yeah.
But it's entirely possible they might not show us Beast Boy for an issue or two. Well, it's just all the heroes dealing with the new crisis that's now upon them.
Right.
So.
The Beast Crisis.
Yeah, maybe we should have called it that. Beast Crisis.
Maybe. Or I'm glad they didn't call it like Crisis on Beast World. You know, something like that. I'm glad that it feels like its own thing.
Crisis on Infinite. Gars.
Gars. Yeah, that'd be the closest one. Because you can't say Crisis on Infinite Girths.
Crisis.
That's completely different.
Crisis and the Beast.
Yeah. The Middle Beast Crisis.
I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
That's okay.
But no, it's a very good first issue. I enjoyed it a lot, both story and art, and it's like I've been enjoying Titans. I think I like this even more than any of the Titans issues we've had so far. It felt really exciting. So, what are you rating Titans Beast World issue 1, Matt?
I'm gonna come hot out the gate and give this a 9.
I agree. I'm giving it a 9.
Oh wow,
it's very good. I liked it quite a bit. I forgot what it was like to be into an event this much.
For real, I agree.
Been a while. All right, moving on. Detective Comics 1078 Ram V writing with Jason Shawn Alexander on the art. So we're continuing this build to the hanging of Batman, this structure, which I'm enjoying a lot, although I will say the one downside to it is that I feel like these issues have been reading very quick since they started doing this. I got to the end of this one, and much like the last issue, I was like, wait, I'm at the end already? No, there must be more. Which I do think means that in trade, this is going to read like an absolute treat. But, you know, Batman's still been walked to the platform as the speech is being made about how... You know, we're not hanging the man, we're hanging the symbol, because Batman's a symbol of the shadow that's over this city, because if you mask the problems, then therefore you're not facing them, and you're just accepting defeat, or something to that effect. And the art here is phenomenal. I think Jason Shawn Alexander's one of the sort of the best new finds for me, I think, recently. Just so moody, a lot of atmosphere. My only critique... This is a very small critique in the art. I think it's actually halfway through the book, because we actually cut back to the hanging in the middle. Is they put a sack over his head at one point, but like there's no pointy bits for where the ears would be, and that really annoyed me. So I'll dock it one minor point.
Yeah, because those ears should be sturdy enough to hold up to a burlap sack.
Yes, or just pierce it and stick through, like have a sack on but have the 2 ears coming out. Whatever method you choose, there should have been something. Yes. But
I also love that the Orgums are still like, Asmer still hasn't got him. What the hell? Like they're kind of like they don't know what to do because this has never happened before. So I kind of like that aspect of, you know, a little bit of chaos is at play.
Yeah, she says that, I can control what he's saying and sort of puppet his voice, which she does a bit later, but he's not been turned in the way that he's supposed to. And I kind of just chalk that up to the fact that Batman spent his entire life being a stubborn prick. Yeah, and this time it's paying off. Yeah, the iron will of Batman. So... yeah, obviously it cuts back to... Well, actually, before we say that, we do see the Joker seemingly watching this broadcast in the distance, which... Interesting. I love the art here as well, just seeing his smile in the darkness. Really cool. Really creepy. They've done a good job between this page and then what Garrett's and King have been doing at making Joker spooky. Not just scary, because he's always scary, right? He's a maniac that'll kill you. But just making him, like... in the shadows constantly, it makes him chilling again. Or even that panel right before where it's the people in the bar, wherever they are that they're watching this broadcast, these two people turn around with like this fear in their eyes because they hear that laugh coming from the back of the room. Really like that.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. So obviously we cut back. We go for hours before the Batman is hanged. We're getting closer to it in the flashbacks, but we go back about a half a day or whatever. And honestly, this issue reads very quick because it's all the different people involved in the plan, all just doing little bits of each of their assignments. So you've got Shoes.
Ocean's 11.
Yeah, you got Shoes and Chesser fighting the guys in the tunnels where the cages are. Again, the art looks great. I love how shadowy the mask is on Cheshire when she leans down at the end and tells the guard that if you ever threaten my daughter again, I will cut your tongue out and feed it to you in little pieces.
Yeah. There's that, because then when you see Shoes' mask, right, it's bright and it's got almost like a smile to it. So the fact that he's contrasting her mom in shadow with this ominous threat, it's really good storytelling.
Yeah, very good. Gordon's keeping an eye on the police. Catwoman's sort of lying in wait for whatever she's about to do.
Yeah.
And Cass is taking on a bunch of the bad guys, and this is a gorgeous couple of pages. You got the page of her running towards the bad guys, but then there's the page where it's just a bunch of white panels as if there's like a smoke bombs went off. So it's just Cass fighting the bad guys in silhouette for a whole page. It looks so good. Really well done stuff. And the page after as well is really good. But she's with Mr. Freeze because, least we forget, Mr. Freeze was brought on board for this plan, and one of the bad guys, their foot snaps off because he's frozen the floor, and it's frozen the guy's leg. And Cass is like, "Hey, no killing, Freeze." And he's like, no. The cold takes what it wants, but I'm not killing anyone. Maybe some light maiming, but no,
light maiming, yeah.
No killing. So that's all fine. And that's all basically gets to the point where the family, the Orgams, are debating, well, we've got trouble in the tunnels with the cages, we've got trouble where the engine is, that's where Cass and Mr. Freeze are going. What do we do? It's like, well, this is obviously some attempt to save Batman, and like that's our priority, but we also we can't, we don't want to look bad by having people like know about the cages, and we can't lose the engine, so send some people to go deal with it. And as this is happening, we see the truck that the bad guys were having as well, that Catwoman was watching. Azrael was inside the truck, and he comes out in his bat suit. Yeah, it's just really gorgeous. It's just, like...
the flaming sword with the Azrael armor is such a dope look, and then the way that Alexander draws it, with just in the shadows, but it has the red eyes. It just, oh man, that's a, as the internet says, that's a pick that goes hard. Yeah,
and so this part is meant to be just, what was it, minutes before the Batman is hanged, right?
Yeah.
And it's showing that this is all to thin out the security around. So we don't know until she does the move. It turns out to be where Arsene himself is, but she's basically all these different distractions are so that the forces of the Organs will all be spread thin, and they'll all go to these different locations so that Catwoman can go in. And throughout the whole issue, she's been narrating about playing poker and how, like, you have to bluff, and it's all about sort of judging the other person. And
yeah, it's the art of the bluff as told by Selena Kyle, and everything that she does goes into that. And this is where I don't know what to make. I don't know what Ram V is going for. Is like, who's getting bluffed? Is Selena doing the...
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. Just before we move on to that conversation, though, I did forget to mention that Azrael takes on the werewolf. That's like that's the cliffhanger at the end of his part, is that the werewolf wolfs up, and Azrael with his flaming sword and him are standing off against each other.
And it's just the way that he talks, right? Because I always imagine Azrael talking like a maniac, like just yelling, and where he's like, "Yes, come," or almost he's like broken Matt Hardy, right? And he goes, "Yes, come now, Devil Beast. I can smell the bloodlust on your breath." Ramby gets to write this, and it doesn't sound bad, like just for all that stuff. And then they look at each other, and we get, Batman with the flaming sword taking on a werewolf. Like, 12-year-old me is so stoked about this.
It's pretty good. I can't deny. But yeah, that's the big thing is that basically Catwoman sneaks in and she grabs Arzin. Puts a knife around his neck, his throat, and talks to the mother and says, "All right, free Batman, save Batman, stop hanging him, or I'm going to kill Arzin here." And this is actually a great payoff to all of the stories we've had, especially the flashbacks about his upbringing.
Yep.
Is that the mom goes, "Fine, kill him." Arzen's been training his whole life to give his life for the cause. The cause is more important than him. And it's like, you've made this big play, you've made this big bluff, I don't care, kill him, go ahead. Right? Doesn't give a shit. Now, of course, the speculation here, and this is something that I suspect that you were getting at, is that is Selina expecting this, and there's actually more to the plan than what we're seeing here by the end of the issue? Because this is the cliffhanger. The mum just walks out and says, "All right, hang the prick," and we see someone pull the lever to hang Batman, and that's where we end. That's the cliffhanger, is the feet dangling. So, it's a pretty big cliffhanger. It's really good stuff. But
there's that, and the way that she says, "You've done well, my son. You can slit my son's throat if you are faster than the guards, but first allow me to dispense some wisdom. Never play a hand you're not willing to lose." Yet Selina, if we can trust her narration, knows poker very well, right? And so again, is this still part of the bluff? Is she pulling, Madame Orgum, into her game?
Well, one of the things that Selina said in the narration earlier on in the issue is that part of the bluff is that your opponent, on some level, knows you're bluffing and thinks they're going to win. And I'm wondering if this ending is that playing out, is that this is the moment where the Mummy Orgum thinks she's going to win, because she thinks that, this Catwoman thinks that leveraging my son against me is going to work, but it's not going to work because we care more about the cause than each other, and that's who we are. But that could be something that's playing into Selina's plans. She does have. There's that great panel of her eye looking kind of shocked and upset. But we'll see. I genuinely don't know what's going to happen when we start the next issue, and that's actually quite exciting. Like, obviously,
so I'm looking for Gordon. You said he was keeping an eye on the cops?
Yeah, earlier on he was like passing that information along about, especially when they started thinning out. He tells Selina that all of the Orgum paid off cops have all left, meaning they've all went to these locations to try and fight, whether it be Cass or Cheshire and that.
Because I'm not wondering if part of the bluff is that Gordon's in that executioner's, right? And he's the one that pulls it, but he's also there to get Bruce back down.
Yeah, very possible. I mean, the stuff with Gordon, I believe, was in the 10 hours before he's hanged segment, not the minutes before. Yeah. So maybe that does lend some credence to that. Maybe he is the secret weapon here, as it were. Possible.
Or like Selena needs them to call this still, right? Because it puts them off of there. But yeah, very, very good stuff, man. Again, Ram V getting to write this kind of story also, and it's the pacing of it is what do they call it? Neck breaking speed.
Like, yeah, it's flowing so well because we're sort of framing it around this one event, which is Batman being walked up to the gallows to be hanged, and we're getting these little snippets of it each issue, and then the team building to come and try and stop it. And we get a sense that they've got a plan. They're not exactly letting us in on it quite yet, which is why it feels like there's still like a secret part of it that's not quite been revealed yet. Like, oh, this is the actual plan is this. It's not. This is all just the setup. This is all just the distraction. I mean, the only thing I know for sure is that Batman's not actually dying. That's the only thing I know. Anything else, I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know how they're going to save him, but I'm excited to find out. What
happens if he gets hung with the asthma? Would that kill the asthma? So like maybe this is part of Selina's plan to knock that part out, because she
kill him and then resuscitate him.
Right? I don't know. Like there's so many different options. because let's say they free Batman, they still have to deal with the asthma with him, so that's still something they have to knock out.
Yeah, it's still fine though. I mean, maybe it's as simple as like if they do get him back, like the idea is Selenium helps him fight it by being there and sort of giving him a tether to the world, if you will. I don't know. Honestly, I'm just like this. This is just such a fun, fast-paced thing, but at the same time, the actual weight of what it's doing and the Argum's trying to make this example of like, hey, Batman is Gotham. Part of me also wondered, like, what if, not that Selina's enlisted Joker, but let's say Selina didn't account for this, right? Let's say this was her plan, was to threaten Arzen, and now it's failed because now they just don't care, right? They don't give a shit about losing each other, especially the mother doesn't give a shit about losing her son. She's been pretty stern with him his entire life from what we've seen in the flashbacks. What if Joker is this weird wildcard element since that he's been set up at the start of this issue? Now that could be in a vacuum, it could just be on its own to show that, yeah, of course he'd be paying attention to this because he's the Joker.
Right.
But what if, like, he doesn't want Batman to die? He loves messing with Batman. What if he's somehow...
What would I do without you?
Yeah.
Right?
What if he's like the darkest part of Gotham City in some way actually comes out to defend or protect Batman because he wants the status quo to remain, kind of thing.
Yeah. As much as I hated where the Scott Snyder Batman book went, that was kind of an aspect he was playing at about, like, there's always going to be a Batman, but there's also going to be a Joker. As that these are not two sides of the same coin, but just constantly opposing forces in Gotham. So, yeah, Gotham's not done with Batman until Gotham says, and not what these outsiders say.
And I'm not... Like, I don't think this is likely. I mean, I do actually think the more likely scenario is that Joker's laughing at that broadcast at the start of the issue, and it is just in a vacuum, and the point of it is that Joker knows that this is never... Like, you think you're going to kill Batman? No. I know him too well.
You're not even doing it right,
He's just laughing because he knows this is going to fail. No matter how much they think they've already won, Batman will somehow find a way. Or in this case, the people around Batman will find a way. So like I like all the things that Ram V's playing with here. This has probably been my favorite arc of the run so far. I would say. Well, this and
it's been a very strong run though too.
Well, I was going to say this. I'm not just including these 3 issues. I'm also kind of including those 2 issues where he was going through the city and the asthma was starting to like take over and he was fighting that. Like these last like 5 or 6 issues have been spectacular, and I've been loving it.
And I'm ready. I love that Ram V. This is like the first of them I can feel that it is an actual mystery, right? Because there's so many different things still in play. Like who was the ninja that came and talked to Selina? Like we still don't know that, So we still don't know with Batman fighting the asthma and all these other unknown things. And I think it's a different kind of story that I'm used to from MV. Because he's good at pulling out surprises, like in Swamp Thing, right? That make sense in the story, but like having like actual mysteries and how is he going to get out of this? Like it's very serialized. That's quite new, and he's really good at it.
Yeah. No, this is a super exciting story. Detective Comics is on fire right now, and I mean that in the best way possible. Not it's burning. Well, actually, I suppose there's backups and shit, isn't there? I never read the backup though, so I mean, if you did,
this backup is it's that one character. What's her name? Aiko, who is working with Catwoman, and she's on a date with this girl named Bet, and they're at a zoo, and they see this leopard that's in the in the cage area, and Bet takes a phone call and she's like, "Oh, it's just business." And Aiko's kind of over eavesdropping, and she's talking about this drug deal that's going to go off and it's going to be in front of a school. And Aiko points it out. She's like, "But a school?" And Bet's like, "Yeah, no, this is just business. Like what your family used to, what you used to do. That's just I'm not afraid of getting my hands dirty." So they kiss and they go off, and Aiko goes back to her room and puts on a like Catwoman suit. The ears are a bit wonkier, and she goes and she breaks up this drug deal, and it looks like Catwoman is, thwarting this woman Bet, and so Aiko's looking over as the drug deal is not going off as it is, and calls her and is like, "Oh, hey Bet, it's Aiko. Just to let you know, like, I'm busy. Like, we had fun, but I don't need to date you." And it ends with Aiko in the Catwoman suit saying, like, "Perhaps a leopard can't change her spots, but you forget, Bet, that those spots do have a purpose." And so the issue was called Camouflaged. So it seems like Catwoman's rubbed off on Aiko, and like you can hide amongst those people and still do good for Gotham without completely, being a complete hero like Batman, right? Casper Wingut's art is really good, like the coloring, the kind of pastel, it gives it like this neon vibe to it all. And he plays with the shadows a lot. Like when she's acting as Catwoman, there are scenes that definitely evoke Batman and Catwoman, and even though the suit is kind of goofy because again the ears are a little bit wonky compared to Selena's. But yeah, just a nice little piece of what's going on. What else is going on in Gotham that's not related to the Orgums? Just a nice little backup. So yeah.
Okay. All right. What are you rating Detective Comics?
I'm gonna give this a 9 as well.
Yeah, I am gonna go 8.5 just because, purely just for the reason of it ended quicker than I was expecting, and I'm like, I wanted more, but like it's I mean that in the nicest possible way. But 8.5, the run's been excellent. Action Comics 1059, Philip K. Johnson writing with Eddy, Barrows, and Eber Ferreira on the art. So, Superman's got his steel suit, his knight of armor kind of suit, which doesn't last very long. He has one fight in it, and then Steel complains that he tore through it so quickly that it's a good thing his powers are starting to come back. So, but the issue starts with some bank robbers who are like tracing down the street in like a truck, and the Blue Earthers have got their own little team of superheroes now because they've been siphoning the powers from the Kryptonians, but they're more vicious. Like the criminals start begging for like, "Oh, mercy, okay, you've got us, like we're done," and they're like, "Hey, we're not Superman. We don't do this mercy business." And they're being extra vicious, but then Superman and Steel show up, and it becomes a bit of a fight, and ultimately a standoff. The Super Family also show up to help, and it basically all just kind of ends with people filming the event on their phones and Superman making a bit of a speech. However, the big thing that happens before the end of this is that Othara, yeah, that's her name. She has like a weird vision moment where the leader of the Blue Earthers, this stone lady, shows up and is basically like, "Yeah, you've got anger in you. You aren't like the rest of those Kryptonians," and is effectively trying to seduce her to the dark side. And she doesn't really say much other than just is kind of like confused by it and is sort of denies it. But she kind of goes up saying, "No. You had a big chain on Warworld. You still wonder how big it would be now if Superman hadn't talked you out of it." She's really trying to like stroke her ego and be like, "Okay,
look what he took from you.
Yeah.
Like you were, you killed people to defend your brother. You weren't afraid to do what needed to be done." And the part that got me is where she says, "You miss your chains. You'll take towels and wrap them around your wrists at night." And I was just like, "God, Kennedy, why are you making this so dark, man? Like, you just gave me Superman in a suit of armor? That was dope, and now you're messing with this poor girl?" So man. Yeah, that went places I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, and this is all in her head, but obviously this is a real bit of communication, like it feels like, and she even leaves her like a necklace, which the kid has after the scene. It's like, okay, all right, so we're building to something that obviously the villain wants to do. The question is now for us is like, is Othara going to be tempted by this? Is she going to be swayed to do something bad? But interesting stuff. So yeah, Kara mentions she feels a bit woozy, and obviously Clark's not been feeling great. It does feel like the powers are being siphoned. This isn't something where they have completely just developed how to have Kryptonian powers. It does seem like they're stealing
drawing
them
away from them like a battery, right? Like that Superman and Supergirl are the battery, and when it drains them, it takes their energy as well.
Yeah, and she's on news doing propaganda later in the issue, and Lois explains they've even got like a doctored version of the stuff that was filmed by the fight to make it look the super family were the bad guys and causing all the damage, and it's all just this smear campaign. So it really sets this stuff up. The big thing though is when Lois and Clark are looking at her, and Clark keeps saying, she still looks familiar. There's something off about this. And then all of a sudden, Lois says, you know what? She looks a bit like Bruce. And at this moment, I was like, where are they going with this? What's going on?
Me too. Me too. I got very confused and be like, well, Lois, you don't have to like your husband's friend, but don't slander him.
But no, so clearly we both forgot this one shot that tied into Warworld, the Authority Superman special one shot, which this is actually Batman and Talia's daughter from another Earth, as the later page calls it, Earth Al Ghul, which very good. So this is and she's the Empire of Shadows. That's the group.
Jana Al Ghul of the Empire of Shadows.
Yes, Empire of Shadows. So this is an even bigger, worse version of the League of Shadows, League of Assassins, whatever you want to call it. And she's now waging this war on this Earth.
Superman.
So but then Otha Ra starts to get wrapped up in like weird energy coming from presumably the necklace that she was given. But she's teleported to Earth Al Ghul. This is the final page of the main story, and this stone's here, and she's like, all right, hey, you're about to learn what's going to be wanted of you and whatnot. And it's like, let me tell you about my father. And there's a giant statue of both Batman and Ra's al Ghul in this palace. But this was a really interesting development. It's fun to see Johnson sort of go in this direction. I find it fascinating that the main villain in this Superman story is an alternate world version, or not version, but someone with ties to a version of Batman, right? It's it's like,
well, it's essentially Dark Damien, right?
Effectively, yeah. But I think what I like about it is that I would never have predicted that, just because I'm expecting a Superman villain. But no, this is actually someone that's more connected to Batman. It felt like a nice little
and when
swerve.
when you think about what Talia and Ra's stand for about Earth, and it's about, leaving, tearing out the sickness, and then them seeing Superman and the people from Warworld as a sickness, everything tracks. I just completely forgot about the Empire of Shadows.
Assuming I read this issue, I'm assuming I did, because the editor's note says that it's in the Warworld like saga trade. Yeah. And if that's the case, then I assume I read it if it was that connected. But at the same time, I don't remember reading a book called that.
It came out 2 years ago. It came out in November of 2021. So
okay,
because once they showed her and the Al Ghul, stuff started clicking, and I was like, this feels familiar, but I don't remember reading this book. But like I remember broad strokes of it, but not the full thing. So yeah.
Here's a question, Matt. We only have one issue of Johnson's action left. Do you feel that this entire run is going to be wrapped up in one more issue?
I feel like they're going to, because I don't remember anything in the solicits that we're going to be getting a special.
I don't think there is anything in the solicits, but I do genuinely wonder if there's like a book to announce that sort of spins out of it, that they're just waiting till this final issue comes out, or close to the final issue to announce it.
I hope so, because I know he's told people, like, keep an eye on Green Lantern War Journal. That's kind of like his. Sure. He's shooting that like the part 2 to his big story that he's doing across the DC universe. However, if this just ends, it's gonna, like, if it's rushed, because this felt kind of rushed too. So I was digging Nora Stone as a villain, as this Blue Earth person. And so just to have her immediately be revealed as, Jana Al Ghul, I don't know, everything's very sped up. Because I love the story.
Oh, no, honestly,
Yeah.
I didn't think it did feel that rushed to me. I thought this was fine pacing-wise. I just don't feel like there's only one issue left in this story.
Yeah.
I just don't feel that way.
That's what I'm saying. That's where it feels. Knowing now that there's only one issue left, I don't know, because there's no way unless they give him the full issue, right? Because we've been getting 2 backups per action for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
So unless they give him the full issue, that's the only way I could feel like it would be fulfilling. But then I still feel that he's put so much stuff in motion, like with the Super Family and Othel and Osel Ra. I don't know. It's like, yeah, maybe there's a Super Family book down the line where he's going to continue this. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like this feels like one of those things where there's like a separate new series being launched afterwards that continues the story while Action gets to be this rotating creator thing that they're going for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I genuinely don't know. I'm actually looking at December solicits to see if there's
Got you.
an indication
Something that you
in
missed.
the Action thing. Assuming that the Action solicits are in here, because I know December's got that weird thing. So 1060 is here. There is backups. Okay, technically there's 2 because the annual's an annual as well in December.
Okay.
So we're getting an annual, which is seemingly going to be the wrap up to this arc. But yeah, so it's a double-sized annual.
Okay, I feel a little bit better now.
Okay.
Because I feel like he can do that with an annual and another issue.
Because that's effectively 3 more issues. If you're getting 1 regular issue and then you're getting a 50-page final issue, that's effectively 3 regular issues. So okay, I could see that a bit enough to tell the rest of this arc. All right, okay.
But while you were talking about that, I was gonna say Superman in the suit of armor with the sword, just knowing that he's the unblooded sword on top of it. It's just, I'm glad that Philip Kennedy Johnson could do this before he was off of Action Comics. Because again, that's just such a cool vibe. And then the thing that Steel creates, that's like a Superman charger. I thought that was really cool. That was a nice little piece of technology that it siphons the Earth's rays and then it concentrates them so he can kind of get a full charge if he needs it. So the idea that thing is kind of there, should he need it in the future. I like that was another addition that he's added there. And all the stuff with the twins. That's when Nora pulls her into whatever realm they were in and is telling her how she misses the chains. I was like, God, that got dark. That was like world dark.
Honestly, the only critique I really have is that I feel like the suit of armor almost felt like a bit pointless given how quickly it was. Okay, we're done with that now. I was like, okay. It felt like the ending of the last issue felt like it was setting up for a little bit more than that, but okay. So that's my one real critique of the main story.
When they release the action figure of it, I will definitely own it.
But yeah, I like the Nora Stone reveal. I thought it was an interesting pivot. Even if I didn't remember or possibly never read the setup for her all that time ago, it was an interesting kind of. Okay, so this is a Batman kid from another Earth where she's full on Ra's al Ghul pilled. Okay, right. We've got a interesting development there. First backup is the second half of the new Superman story with Keenan. Or Kenan, as Bakshi rudely corrects us all on. Yeah, I never learned to say his name properly either, but yeah.
No, but the fact that Keenan's okay with us calling him Keenan, I feel that was Yang giving us Westerners, you can call him Keenan still. Definitely an interesting development that it seems like through enough meditation, Keenan can't die. Right? Because
it depends. Like he goes to like kind of like where the 2 bridges of the afterlife are, and I Ching, who of course was his like mentor, is there to sort of guide him. And he's like, nah, don't worry, you're not ready to die quite yet. You're connected to Superman. You can sort of get your key energy going. And he wakes back up. So basically what happened is Keenan died because anyone who learns that Superman is Clark Kent will be killed, because Lex did that whole thing, right? In Action Comics 1050.
I didn't realize it caused instant death, though. So this is going to add a bunch of trickery, which I do like, because we'll get to that. But
it was nice of Lex not to like make a big list of superheroes that should know who he is and not affect them.
Yeah.
And very convenient.
Yeah. So that reveal was a little bit, because like I understand people having issues when they figure out that Superman is Clark Kent, or Clark Kent is Superman, like Perry did, right? Perry ended up in the hospital, but it wasn't an instant death. So yeah, so a little bit of a wrinkle, but I do like the story that we get out of this with Keenan and the super twins. He only kind of likes.
Yeah, it's basically, China's Batman shows up because he got a reading from Robin Bot that the new Superman was dying.
And his heart stopped.
And obviously he's here, he's fine, so that gets squashed quite quickly. But he ends up fighting the others, and it's actually Robin Bot who pulls new Superman aside and says, hey, you can't tell him what happened, because if you give him even any vague details, he will investigate it and figure out that Clark Kent's Superman, and he will die. So you have to figure out a way to trick him and make him drop the case. So I thought that was an interesting wrinkle, even though I think the idea that if anyone finds out Clark Kent is Superman, they'll just die is really extreme, and I do think that's kind of stupid. But so I mean, we'll see if anyone else even plays with that at any point.
I do feel like with Luthor being in jail, I figure when jail, and he was stabbed, he's in the hospital now, but I feel like when Luthor gets released for whatever reason, I feel like he'll undo it. That feels like a Williamson thing where he put in this thing just to have a character and do it by the end.
This instant death thing, though, I feel like something they're just going to forget about, and then it'll come up in a way where like someone will find out and nothing will happen, and it'll just be because they've forgotten. Either they forgot or they decided, let's just choose to forget that thing because it's just going to get in the way of other stories eventually.
Yeah.
But for now, like I had a decent amount of fun with what this did. Bakshi being pissed at Keenan and feeling like Keenan's picking his new super family over him was an interesting little beat. And it does that thing where Keenan's quite happy about being part of the super family. This explains how he's with them in these previous arcs and Action Comics. But that last panel does look, it looks a little dejected that he's kind of left his friend feeling betrayed to be here. So yeah, it's interesting. I like that Jean Lune Yang got to tell the story of how Keenan ended up being with the rest of the family. I think it's nice he got to do that.
For sure. And just the stuff with they keep calling Baishi like the chubby Batman and stuff, and I was like, man, these kids are mean. So I like that Yang is really taken with the super twins, that they still don't have Earth's manners quite down yet.
No, it's not even like they were raised in a good civilization either. They were raised in blood throat, cut throat, fighting war world. They had to grow thick skin, all right.
But yeah, I just like that in here that it keeps coming up, and Keenan's not okay with it though either, because that's his friend too. So I did like there was a little bit there, but it definitely an interesting way, like him having to stop Baishi from realizing it because it will kill him. He doesn't want his friend to go. But yeah, the whole I Ching thing about the meditation and focusing your ki, it's not your time yet. I thought that was all very interesting. Especially after reading Spirit World and having the more Eastern perspective on death. No, that was definitely an interesting thing that Yang threw in there.
Yeah. And then there was another backup, which I did not read. I don't know if you did.
Yeah, I did.
You don't sound very happy about it.
No, so it's John, and it's John being sad that he really can't see Jay because Jay's been so busy working for Steelworks, and John's also been kind of like babysitter for the super family, for the twins, while Clark and Lois are busy. And so he starts to, not that he feels resentful, but he's kind of like, Jay, like, we're supposed to spend time together. And they start texting one another. And he's like, well, I shouldn't leave, but I can meet up with you and we'll talk. And it's very overwritten and it's very melodramatic. So I looked up Dan Parent, and Dan Parent comes from Archie Comics. And that's exactly what this feels like. This feels like an Archie Comics take on the relationship of Jay and John, which I loved when Taylor was doing it. But it's very wordy, and like there's a lot of, when they're texting each other, there's a lot of text to read as they're going back and forth and being upset that they can't be with each other. And so finally, John sets up a dinner, like a Mexican food dinner, for him and Jay on like this terrace overlooking the city, and Jay gets called in right after to go back and work for Steelworks on some, like, there's some computer issue, him being like the communications manager, he has to go fix. So before he leaves, John takes him up and they fly, and it's a very sweet moment. And then Lois and Clark are both like, well, where the hell's John at? And ends up finding him. He meets back up with Jay at the end, and they're snuggling on this terrace, both passed out from being so busy with life. Just very overwritten, and it's got the art by the art that you don't like. They did Power Girl. They did that Superwoman special during Future State. Oh, why am I drawing a blank? I don't have the book open in front of me. But yeah, it's all very, I'm gonna have to open it now.
I don't have an answer for you, Matt.
I know. I was ready for you to bail me out because I thought you had it in front of you. But I'll find it. Give me one.
Oh, Margaret Savage. There you go.
There you go. It's Savage. So like the art's done. It's just, it's taken up by a ton of these word balloons, and it's very, for a backup, it took a long time to read. So, and it was okay. Like, it wasn't bad, but I wouldn't go looking for more of it. And so that's why I was like, what else has Dan Parent, written? And a lot of Archie stuff. He created the Kevin Kelly character, which was the first out character in Archie Comics. So it's nice that he's writing John and Jay and stuff. It was just, I don't know if the Archie tone matches Metropolis. So, but yeah. Okay. So that was that one.
All right, geez, that's finally Action Comics time. What are you rating Action Comics, Matt?
I'm going to use an 8.5, mostly for the first two stories. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the 8 out of 10. I enjoyed the reveal in the main story. It was a bit out of left field, but I still kind of enjoyed it for what it was. Like what it's doing with the whole media smear campaign of someone attacking Superman and the super family's like public perception, liked all that stuff. And the backup with Keenan was good too. So 8 out of 10 for me. The Flash, issue 3, Legacy 803. This is Cy Spurrier writing with Mike Deodato Jr. on the art. So we'll see if we can make sense of what's going on in The Flash, because issue 2 definitely left me feeling a little bit lost. This issue is a bit more focused, which I appreciated.
Yep.
I was kind of, I won't say dreading reading this, but I liked the first issue despite it being very wordy. Second issue I liked less and thought that the wordiness and structure got in the way of me really enjoying it. This issue, I think it's back closer towards the first issue, where I think it flowed a bit better. It's a bit more focused. There's some genuine comedy at the start where Flash tries to do an impression of Grodd, and Terrific points out that it just sounds like his Batman impression. So then he just starts doing a Batman impression.
God, just the way that the font goes with that too.
Yeah,
like it's like dripping the darkness, and I knew exactly what he's doing, the Christian Bale voice.
Yeah.
So very, very good on that one.
So yeah, it's looking. But he's talking with Terrific about this anomaly, this light thing that's appeared right above the Flash statue in the park, and they're looking into it. They talk about what it could be. Wally's like, just spooky Speed Force stuff, I guess. And Terrific's like, no, that's not science enough. We have to science the shit out of this. And then Max Mercury shows up to offer his input, and he decides to use his powers along with Wally to go with Wally, because Wally's been kind of like teleporting somewhere. Like, that's been one of the things that's been happening every so often. And he goes with Wally to this place, but they realize quite quickly that this isn't another dimension. This isn't like an alternate Earth. This is still their Earth, but looking at it through what they call a different lens. So there's all this like purple stuff all over the place. And it ends up raising this question, because they leave this place because they see something running at them very quick. And they both get this feeling that something really violent's coming. So they pull out of here as quickly as they can. And then Bart's there, and they deduce quite quickly that whatever this place is, this other plane of existence that they've went to, that violent thing that was running towards them was Bart. It's the idea that whenever they use the Speed Force, it's doing something bad to part of existence that maybe they've never really considered before, and it's causing damage. At least that's what it appears to be right now. And I'm like, okay, this is an interesting concept. Like, this idea that there's a price for them using their powers and whatever. Obviously, they're going to keep using their powers because they're comic book characters, but I'm curious to see where this is going. At least I was intrigued by that.
Yeah, so the idea that wherever they're going, I also like that essentially from the last issue. So I read issue 2 and then issue 3 back to back. And I do think that it helped issue 2 having that right in my memory when reading this, because what Max says is like it's Earth from a different angle, right? And so that's why everything seems a bit off, and that having Max being the guy instead of like Barry or any of the other speedsters with him is Max looks at the Speed Force like a spiritual thing, right? Whereas Terrific's looking at all this through a science lens, and it's through Max that Wally's able to, realize, oh, that's Bart, and there's each action has a reaction. And so they've been using the Speed Force and cutting through whatever this dimension is, this other angle of Earth, for so long. Like, what have they been doing? And I like that Max's kind of thing is like, well, we never really stopped to think about it. But if they're going to stop and think about it, is that going to change anything, right? Is being aware of what they're doing going to change anything that's going on in there? I like that whole point of contention here.
Yeah, and going along with the issue being quite funny is that here when Bart shows up, he sees this light thing, this anomaly, and says, oh man, I'm going to poke it with a stick. And that's funny on its own, but it ends up being paid off really well at the end of the issue, because after this, Max and Wally go sort of back in, kind of, and they end up with one of the gorillas that was working for Grodd. But Grodd this gorilla though is like parts of him are kind of like cut away, and his speech bubbles are all like this as well, where there's just these chunks, these triangles that have been taken out of them, and we hear this voice say, "Oh, what a pathetic little monkey! Don't worry, he's going now." And he basically kind of folds, and they realize. And I actually really like the effect on the lettering here for this voice, where all of the bubbles are kind of at this angle, and there's like a heavy drop shadow on it. So they all look like they've got this kind of almost
there's a pull to them.
Yeah, almost like there's like a slight 3D effect to the bubble itself, where it's kind of at an angle for every single time it shows up. I like that, but yeah, basically it's taunting Wally and Max, and they kind of deduce it's the Folding Man at a certain point, but they're really struggling here, and they end up somewhere else, and those red alien looking dudes that we've seen before are like watching from the top of this rock, and they're like, oh shit, we're here at Speed Point, like the powers are fading, like I don't have enough Speed Force energy to get us home. And Max gives Wally all of his Speed Force power to get home, but it doesn't actually seemingly work. He ends up in another weird alternate place where there's a statue of every single speedster, like every Flash family member and even some Titans, and now he's like at the end of like existence for the Flashies. He's at the end of the story or something. He doesn't know how to get back, and he's getting really, freaked out by it. And then the end of the issue that pulls him back to reality, because it feels like he's trapped here. To the point where he's sitting down and saying, "Please," this stick touches his face, and the panels kind of bend, and then that rips him back out into the real world. And it turns out that Bart poking the thing with a stick was like this tether back to the real world that Wally was able to kind of like, not even intentionally, just kind of,
right,
it just kind of poked him back into reality. And it's like Max is now trapped in this space between spaces, and Wally's here now kind of freaking out about that, so they have to get Max back for a start. But yeah, super interesting.
Yeah. And so he also thinks back to what the stillness, those aliens that talked to him at the beginning of issue 2.
Yeah, these were the ones that were color coded. There was like a different color each one.
Yeah, that they called it like some kind of membrane, or I forget what the actual term that he uses. But Wally remembers what it's called, and that's what gives him the idea, like, this is something to them, and that's where they're all operating out of. And then there's another theme throughout that Spurrier's using about time. Like when they're in the folded place, they talk about knocking the time out of them and all this other. There's a lot of concepts at play here.
It's super sci-fi in a way that Flash. Oh, Flash is always a little bit sci-fi for sure, but this feels like it's going into something else here. Yeah, the idea that like there's like a membrane to reality that every time the speedsters are using their powers to go through it, they're like destroying the brain cells, basically. They're
destroying parts of it, and two, that it's kind of like what Zoom would do, right? Because Zoom from Hunter Zolomon, he didn't use the Speed Force; he moved through time, and that's almost like what Wally's doing in this other realm. It's almost like he's blinking in and out of ours, but when he still moves, he's moving through time. Just a lot of things to think about. This, I definitely prefer this issue. Issue 2 was kind of a down, just because there was so much he was throwing at you. Here, where the ideas are starting to come into play, like when he ends up in that garden, and it's almost like it's speedster heaven, because Wally almost gets tricked into being at peace, and that's where he's kind of sitting there. He wants to get out, but he's like, but I'm so tranquil right now. It's like a stillness. Like he doesn't have to do anything. And it's like, and is that what the end of the Speed Force is? It just is. It's peace. It's happy. It's, you know what I mean? It's in action, but not like it's a mindful inaction almost.
Or is this just a trick from the stillness to try and make him stop running? The idea that if he's content here, he'll stop running and he'll stop ruining their reality or whatever. It's like, there's some interesting stuff here, and I feel like once we have like more of the information and we see more of the aspects of it, and we have more of a solid idea of what's going on. Right now, it is very much bathed in mystery, and there's a lot that we don't understand yet. And it is a lot to try and remember between these issues. And I think issue 2 really suffered for that for me. But I thought this one was better at being focused and telling more of a clear story that had a good setup and payoff with the whole Bart and the stick thing. Like, it's really funny, but it's also like a good little payoff to that where that pulls him back to reality. So, yeah, interesting.
I'm going to poke it with a stick. God, Impulse is great. We don't have enough Impulse in our comics right now. So the fact that he got to be the hero here by poking things with a stick, that's good.
Yeah, so... and I think that's even a call. Isn't there a line at the start where Terrific says to Wally, "Don't poke it or don't touch it with that"? Yeah. So it's like a double.
You also just reminded me that the Terrific scientists are arguing about what to do, and when Max shows up, he's like, "Hey, your logic and reason people are about to throw fists over there." I thought that was another fun little line. So, but yeah, no, that made it fun to read in ways that the last ones weren't. So I think I'm going to stick through Flash just to see where this goes. Because this was the make or break issue. Because after 2, I was kind of like, I don't know. And I read this was one of the last books that I read, and it really hit. And I don't know if that's just because the inclusion of the other speedsters, right, of Max and Impulse and that stuff, and I'm just on mark for that.
Yeah, I will say, so I'm enjoying the art a lot. I really like Deodato Junior's art. I like how sort of moody and different it feels. Like it's very different from what I usually expect on Flash, and I like that it is different from the last few runs. I also... They've had this consistent style with the layouts where there's these extra panels at this around the edges. It's almost like if you imagine a margin around a comic book page where all the panels end, all of these pages have random extra panels sticking out, but not all the time. So there's still some negative space, but it gives it this. I think the more we're reading the story, the more I'm seeing thematically why this has been a choice that they've made to be a consistent thing. Is that it's almost like these are the parts of the world that are outside the edge of the normal part of the page. Even though I know most comic books now don't have margins in most of their pages. Most just use the full page. But old school comics had the white margin, right? And this book feels like it has the white margin, but some panels are having these extra bits that are going into it. And it feels like...
it's the space between.
Yeah, it's representing the extra layers of reality almost, and that there's spaces outside the normal part of the story. So I think that's really cool. So there's a lot of smart stuff going on here, but it does feel like there's also a lot of things being juggled. And I remember reading issue 2 and thinking, "Oh God, I'm trying to remember all the things that issue 1 introduced." And it was tough. So I'm definitely down to read the next issue though. I think I'm enjoying the big heady sci-fi stuff that it's doing. But it is definitely a bit wordy at times. Although I don't think it's been as bad as it was in the first issue though.
No, and it helps with added to break up that wordiness is the humor, whether it's from Max or the scientist or Impulse or Wally himself, because that when you add the humor, then it makes the seeing the gorilla get folded in half, that makes it that's startling. That's why comedy works well with horror. These little pieces of space to reset, and I figure that Spurrier has figured that out a little bit after, info dumping in the first 2. But it feels like a Flash book like I haven't read before, because it's doing stuff with the Speed Force, but not as we know it, right? Like, I don't know how much of the New 52 Flash you read.
Some, but not a ton. I didn't like it that much.
Yeah. That just did stuff with the Speed Force as this other dimension and people getting stuck in there and all this other stuff. So it's cool to see it from this different, almost a different level of understanding.
Yeah. All right. What are you giving the Flash issue 3?
I'm giving it 7.5.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think... Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'm being boring and just agreeing with your scores mostly this week, but... I think that sounds about right. It's on the brink of great. It's just a little bit too muddy to quite get that great score. All right. Green Arrow, issue 6, legacy number 339. Joshua Williamson writing with Shawn Isaacs, Phil Hester, and Trevor Hairsine on the art. 3 artists. I can't wait to see how you feel about that.
Yeah. No, so it's not a mess. It's done on purpose. Okay. Right? So Hester does all of the Ollie versus Ollie stuff. And then Isaacs does the... current day stuff, and then the third artist, who I didn't catch the name of, does a lot of the in between. So in this, it's revealed because Ollie, when he ended up fighting all the other arrows, right? It's essentially he went into his inner self, and they're all versions of himself fighting to break free. And so he essentially. He ends up grabbing an arrow, but he's too late. He ends up getting shot with one, and it brings him back out. And the old version, old man Ollie that's talking to him, is being like, "Oh, see, this is your problem, is you're constantly at war with yourself, and you never come out on the right side. This is why you're a destructive element to your family, and why you can't be around anymore." And Ollie starts to put together who this is, because it's not him, right? It's not ringing true. So, old Ollie punches new, our version of Ollie, and he goes, "You're the most stubborn person I've ever known. since the day we met. And it turns out that it's Merlin, because it's always Merlin, right? Like death, taxes, and there's going to be a Green Arrow story that features Merlin.
Ta-da.
So they're swirling. Yeah. So we're going around, and Merlin has like this, almost like the dark energy that we saw from Dark Crisis. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what it is, because it is Williamson. Making up most of his body, and Ollie's confused because he's like, you died. Like, you were part of the whole Leviathan thing. Which, remember that? When that was a thing that DC was doing?
I do, yes.
Yeah. And Merlin's like, well, you didn't see a body, and he holds up his hand, and it's all mechanized. He goes, I made some repairs. So as they're fighting, there's another boom, and on the swirling rock with this time storm going around, Connor Hawk shows up to save his dad. And Ollie makes the realization that, you know, him listening to this fake future version of himself played right into it, because these are his doubts that he's still not good enough. It's Oliver Queen 101, and that it is his family that makes him stand out. And that he has to rely on other people, because it's not just him. It's him and Roy, and him and Connor, and him and Dinah, and him and Emmy. So Merlin's like, well, you guys aren't getting out this easy. Fires an arrow. Connor jumps in front of it, and right as it's about to hit, Leon jumps in like Connor does and pulls the arrow out of the space. And they go through the portal that Connor and Leon came through. And when Ollie wakes up, he's on a beach with the waves crashing on him, and it's his island. So at the end of the last issue, Dinah and Roy were heading there. Dinah meets him there, and they have memories of Ollie fighting Doomsday at the end of Dark Crisis. And they embrace and they kiss, and they're rolling around. It looks like From Here to Eternity. And Connor and Leanne are watching. They're like, hey, you know, we know you guys need time, but, you know, what are we doing? So Leanne wonders, like, where's her dad? And this is where the main problem with the art comes is, in other places, right? She, like in right now in Detective, she's drawn like a young woman, like you would say, like late teens, maybe early 20s. Mm-hmm. Whoever did the art here is making her look very kid-like. Like next to Connor, she looks like what we saw last week in that backup in Wonder Woman, how they drew Damian, how he looks still too much like a kid. Mm-hmm. That's how she looks here. But as they're on the way out, Leanne is like, where's my dad? And him and I think it was Cheshire go to the secret bunker that he knows about. And as they're looking around, there's all these monitors, and they have like different things that are going on in DC. Like you can see Wonder Woman here. It's got Jason Todd. Looks like Batman and the Super Family. Trying to make two of other things. Batman and Robin are fighting, and Dr. Hate's there, which is, I realize now looking at it that this is the panel from Beast World. So that's pretty interesting. As Roy is looking at this, he goes, what the hell is she doing with my friends? Because this is Waller's bunker, and there's gunshots. Cheshire takes a bullet, pushing Roy out of the way. He gets shot anyways, and Waller's standing there with the two peacemakers. And it's she says, I didn't want to be found, and now no one will ever find you. To be continued in the hunt for Arsenal. So here I was thinking that I was done with Green Arrow, and they go and they pull this because my brain won't allow me not to know what happens. So
you sucker.
Well, and the fact that there is a moderate tie to Beast World, right? Because we see that on there, and Roy is a Titan at the end of the day. He might be the most annoying Titan. He's a Titan nonetheless. But yeah, a lot of 6 issues just to pull Ollie all over the place. For it to be Merlin was a bit of a wet blanket of a reveal. Because it still didn't make any sense that he would ever doubt himself in the family. That is just one thing from the beginning that never felt right. But yeah, this is a comic that I read, and the art. Yeah, the art's not terrible, but there's some little things here and there. And yeah, Ollie's back now, so we can have, Green Arrow back doing things. So I'll give this a 6 out of 10. Like it is what it is.
Okay. The Penguin, issue 4, Tom King with Rafael de Latorre on the art. So obviously he recruited that team last issue. Was it the Force of July? Was that the name of that team?
The Force of July.
Yep. This issue is what he had planned to do with all of them, and he's on his way to Vegas. He doesn't like flying. Because obviously the gimmick with this book is that we always get narration from whoever's in the scene with Penguin, never him himself. The first one is this flight attendant, and he's scared of flying. And then he's in a limo with the help, and he's clearly nervous about whatever he's about to do, because he keeps asking for updates on like if all the team's in position, and the help's basically like they're still in the same place they were 10 minutes ago. Like nothing's changed.
And the help has noticed that Oswald has not stopped drinking since they've been together. So like he's not 3 sheets to the wind, but he's starting to think that maybe this is having an effect on him in a way that it wouldn't have before, right? So yeah. So we see that this entire team they recruited, they're all set up. One's set up in a sniper position, one's at a blackjack table, one's at a slot machine, one's like a window cleaner outside. They're all in position for whatever they're about to do. And it's not until they get to this hotel in Vegas where it becomes clear this is where his ex-wife is, this St. Clair lady. And this is all an assassination attempt for that. He's given this fancy penthouse suite. He's taken a jacuzzi tub. He calls the wife, and she's happy to come and see him for dinner. She's going to get dressed and all the rest of it. But the entire time, like that final panel when Penguin hands the drink back to the help when he's sitting in the jacuzzi tub, and he's explaining that on their wedding night, she said something to the effect of, "You don't mind if I close my eyes and imagine you're Riddler instead, do you?" The art here is fantastic because the look in Penguin's face as he's telling this story, he's so nervous about this meeting, and we get this dinner date where she's got her own big bodyguard. Obviously, Penguin's got the help there. Yeah,
and they're making this, small talk. She even jokes about, the kids, because she helped the kids set up their whole thing. That they're in Gotham, taking over the Iceberg Lounge and all that.
She didn't want to be evil stepmother. She never believed in that. So they needed help. She believed Oswald to be dead, right? So it's not like it was personal.
Yeah, and she says, she even makes a joke here about the kids called her for advice. She even jokes about, killing her, about Penguin killing her. And he's like, oh, what a grand idea. I wish I thought of that earlier. And again, the facial expressions here are so good. And we already know from the narration that the trigger, the sign to start the plan is Penguin laughing. And at the end of a couple of pages of this, he does start laughing. They both start laughing to a joke. And the help goes to slit her throat, but her bodyguard steps in, and we find out that she already knew what the plan was because they got to the one that was on the roof, the sniper.
That sniper, yeah. Not Captain America.
Not Captain America.
Victory. Major Victory.
He was offered money because she did her homework. She had people look into all these outsiders who were at the hotel.
Yep.
She knew what she was doing, and she gets her gun and she shoots Penguin, and it's like, okay, she completely won this. This is kind of wild. But then we get the true reveal of what all this was, is that this was Penguin expected her to figure out what he was doing, and this was all a recruitment sort of thing to see if she still had it in her, because he wants her help to take back Gotham. And he is expecting this. Although he must apologize that the help's feelings are hurt, and he has to get revenge on the other bodyguard. So we get like a quick page of the help going to murder this bodyguard.
I told him to make it as quick, but that's not how the help works. Which that line by itself is so full of just like, what would the help have done if Oswald had told him to take his time to this point? I think his name was Larry the Lunk, right? Because that's where I thought something was up, because when the help goes to cut St. Cloud, it's almost like he gets outmaneuvered by the Lunk, which doesn't seem to make sense. So when it's revealed like this was all part of the plan, and that he basically gave himself up and basically took a dive, it's like, well, yeah, he's gonna go get his pride back. Which I like. But so what's gonna happen to the 4th of July? That's my thing now. Like, did he just go grab those goons? Are they still gonna be working for him? Is he gonna? Because I don't want to lose those characters, because that last issue really built up some of them. So that's my big question coming out of this one. But the way that she puts it together, that he wants her to be the consigliere. He wants her, advice, because he can't, do this by himself. I like how that all came around.
Yeah, this was a test for two things. One, to see if she would spot the everything coming, if she would figure it out. But two, to see if she was really siding with the kids, or if that was like a one-time necessity, rather than a pattern, as he puts it. And it seems like it seems like she's on board, because she doesn't say no. And again, the facial expressions here are great, because the smirk in his face as she says that feels like this is the most effed up marriage ever. Like, they're not even married anymore, but this is how they treat each other. This is how they feel each other out. And he actually gets down on one knee to propose, to go take Gotham City together.
Basically, as she demands it, she goes, the first time you asked me, you got down on a knee, right? And so there's just like this, the relationship is icky to me. That's just me, though. Like, the other thing that stood out, too, was that when she shoots him, I don't know if Oswald had expected that part, because when she shoots him, it's her narration is, I can take a lot of him, but I can't stand it when he bakes. He's, almost like begging is beneath the Penguin. And so she was just going to put him out of the misery. And I believe the term that she uses is like, when he cries or he gets sweaty, he's a wet bird, and a wet bird is disgusting, right? But what is a penguin, right? They're a bird that's perpetually in water. So, so I don't know if he had planned, I don't know if Oswald went in there knowing he was going to be shot that day, but it still worked out for him. Yeah.
So I was actually thinking he was going to go for revenge over the victory as well, because he got paid off to turn everyone else in. Yeah. But now I'm not actually sure, though, if that was also part of the plan, like if that was agreed upon in the first place. Right. But I wonder if we're still going to have that team working for him. It kind of sounds like it, because she says, "Oh, you've got the goons, and now you want me to come." So. It feels like they are. It'd be kind of weird if we spent that whole issue recruiting them for to just be this and nothing else. Yeah, because it felt very dismissive of them. They were barely in it, and I liked some of the character stuff, like Mayflower, who's like the Poison Ivy girl, who she's talking about like the plants in the hotel, how like they kind of need air. I was told there'd be more plants here. I like that little spot, and just Sparkler looking. Like, he doesn't want to be there because, he doesn't. He was forced into coming. Everybody else kind of agreed. But, his family was hostage. So, Yeah.
But yeah, so another great thing for Tom King, right? Like we still don't get like you keep bringing up the Penguin's facial expressions, but and the art works perfectly because we're not in Penguin's head, right? So we have to rely on what he's thinking by how he looks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just what he's looking like and what his dialogue is. Like the narration's always coming from the other people in the scene with him. So it always builds this air of like mystique and mystery about what's actually going through his head, which I think is perfect. Yeah, I think this is a really solid issue. It might be like, this is going to sound negative, and I don't mean it to sound negative. It might be the weakest one so far, just because I feel like once all the plans kind of unfolds, like after, like I think the build up to whatever he's going to do, like the attempted murder of the wife, I think there's some great tension there. But once it kind of goes past that point, I almost kind of saw it coming, I guess. Like I was almost like, okay, there's more to this than just the kill. So once it got to the actual explanation, I was like, okay, this is just kind of what I expected, and it's not wowing me in the same way that maybe the previous issues did.
But also those last 3 issues were really super solid.
Yeah,
right.
The
first one out the gate, the second was The Help, and then the last one was 4th of July. Those were all really 3 really well crafted.
Yeah, I mean,
and this is 2, but just compared to those, it is a drop.
This is just a comparison point to like. I think issue 1's still my favorite. I think issue 1 was basically a masterclass of a first issue. And then 2 and 3 are fantastic, and then this is really great. It's just maybe slightly a step down from those. So very good stuff though. Excited to see more of Penguin's quest to take back Gotham. But yeah, like 3 issues in a row now have effectively been him recruiting people. This one didn't feel like it for a good bit of it because it was like it felt more like an assassination issue, but then it turns out it was all just a ploy to recruit her. So I wonder, like, do we have more people to recruit, or is it time to actually go to Gotham and start whatever the plan's going to be? I don't know, but we'll see. Obviously, the art, once again, we mentioned the facial expressions, which a lot of this book does rely on, and it delivers on that front. But I really like some of the coloring here, like the entire conversation he has with the wife after he's like healed from his gunshots, and it's like the actual proposal and all that. It's just this sort of black and pink backgrounds, and it's like the pink coming in from the window, and I guess it represents the neon lights of Vegas more than anything.
Well, there's that, and I almost feel like that's a sunrise or a sunset, because out here they're very pink and orange.
Oh, okay.
But that also is kind of the relationship, right? Is the sun hasn't gone down on it yet. Like, yeah, they're not married, but they still have an active relationship, and whether that's the sun setting or the sun rising, that's how I took it. Anyways, I might be a bit too poetic on it, but.
Yeah, I don't know, because you actually do see what looks like the sunrise in that last page with the Help killing the other guy, which maybe implies that that's later, so that's after the sun's actually came up, and that's more of an orange glow. But I really like the backgrounds in that scene. But I mean, they're great throughout, admittedly. But I think notably as well, the pink also matches the dress she was wearing at the date. She came out in this pink dress with these white gloves. Whereas in the scene at the end, the surroundings are all pink, but she's wearing a black dress. I don't know if I have significance or good analysis for that, but I'll point it out.
I do also like what she says, where she says, "Give me my gun." She was like, I don't carry one. It would ruin the silhouette. So she's also a very fashionable villain. I like that.
Yeah,
part.
Maybe I'm reading too much into this. Maybe the idea is that the dinner date was this sort of like play of deception from both of them. So she's wearing pink in the dinner date, and then later on the idea is that the pink is the lights coming from outside, because Vegas is a city where you go to lie, to not be yourself, to gamble,
well,
and all that stuff.
That's what he says about her hotel, right? This is not, maybe he doesn't say it, but someone says it about it, that what happens in Vegas starts at the St. Clair. So yeah, maybe that is too. That's not a bad reading.
Yeah. But because she's in black in the final scene, though, this is her now being honest. This is now her being her.
Right.
So they're just surrounded by the city of lies. Not that it's ever called that, it's the City of Sin, but still.
Yeah.
Same idea. So no, very good. What are you giving the Penguin, Matt?
I'm going to give it an 8.
I'm still going to go with an 8.5. I still think it's really great. It's just slightly not as amazing as the previous issues, so that's not saying much. Or it's saying a lot, rather, depending on how you look at it. So, Amazon's Attack, issue 2, Josie Campbell writing with Vasco Georgiev on the art.
Georgiev. Don't read it like George. Read it like Georgiev. Yeah.
I did my best. All right. Okay. So.
Yeah. You did your best, but we can still do better. Just a bit. And again, the only reason I know is because of hockey.
Yes.
I would call him Georgiev if I did not know that there was a goalie with the last name Georgiev. So yeah.
Yes. Once again, hockey's came in to be a thing. All right. So this issue starts off with a bunch of pundits on a news show talking about the current crisis with the Amazons. There's this super Republican guy who's talking about how the Amazons are a threat to traditional gender roles, which is the complete cesspool of humanity, blah blah blah. And they're debating all this, and then Veronica Cale, of all characters, is on this panel and says, "I thought I trusted Wonder Woman because she helped save my daughter, but I was wrong. These Amazons and their sisters." Because one of the things they bring up here is that there's a lot of non-Amazons who are not necessarily rioting, but they're
taking up the cause.
Yeah, they're taking up the cause. They're wearing Amazon symbols, like Wonder Woman logos and stuff, and they're sort of, they're protesting and stuff in behalf of the Amazons in support of them. But once we actually get into the main story, though, we're back with our 3 leads in the middle of the city. Mary's really miffed that the news is calling her a former hero. She's like, it's been 5 minutes. Like, come on, guys. But the big reveal here, which ties it a lot to Josie Campbell's Mary Marvel series, is that there's a villain here who's got the phone in the chest that's sort of unlocking a magic power.
The Magitech.
So this is actually tying to some of this stuff, and it's actually why Mary chooses to stick with the rest of the characters at the end of the issue, because this means somewhere, somehow, Dr. Savannah, Lady Savannah, as I'll call her, not to be confused with the regular Dr. Savannah.
Can we call her Dr. Savannah Jr.? I think that would fit.
Yeah, she does have a different first name, though, to be fair.
True. But, I'm just going like Captain Marvel Jr.
Sure,
right?
sure. I get what you're trying to do. I get what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So, the Amazons here bicker about where to go. One wants to go to Themyscira, that's Nubia, whereas Yara wants to go to the fortune teller that is with her tribe.
Yeah, she wants to go back to her home tribe, which I don't know the name of that city. They say it, but I forget it. But
yeah, I can't remember either.
Yeah. The other queen Faruka, wants to go to the Bana Migdal fortress, which I get all of them wanting to go to their place of, back to be around their sisters. So that was a nice little piece.
I mean, from here, the issue kind of breaks down into 2 parts, which is one where this guy with the phone, the magic,
attacks.
He attacks, he's got like this fancy magic orange or apple thing that spreads this gas, and there's some fun action here. I really enjoyed the police truck coming for the Amazons and Mary Marvel, like sort of catching it and throwing it back. I enjoyed pretty much every part of this where one of the other Amazons tries to talk to Hoppy about teleporting them out of here. There's like a little running thing where he needs to eat to get his energy back, so she goes into the store and tries to get something but doesn't pay for it.
The one thing that got me is that he's like, I can't teleport like I used to because now I'm drawing powers from 7 different. So does that mean that when in the Mary Marvel book that we read, he was just powered by Billy when Billy was Shazam the Wizard?
I think
right?
so.
And
yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I was reading that correct because, and then them having to find him food was a nice little thing so they could teleport out.
Yeah, some really fun stuff here. There's even some good visual comedy where Yara's fighting or jumping around doing stuff, and she's yelling, "I don't see Mary or the apple," and then the next panel is Mary just being blasted across the panel, and all the panels on this page are at an angle, so it's got this really good sense of speed, and then she hits into a wall, and then Yara looks at her and then looks over her shoulder and goes, "Never mind, found her." And I thought that was really funny. I thought that page looked great. I thought the flow of the action was good, and then that punchline at the end really made me laugh.
That's the Yara that we've been missing since she was introduced.
I know,
because that was the kind of character she was when we first read her. So the fact that Josie Campbell is tapping back into that, I hope this leads to more things, because I do like this. I like her thread of Mary Marvel and putting Mary through with all these other characters. And I mean, technically she's an Amazon because she's getting her powers from the Amazonian goddesses. So I like the interplay between all of them.
Yeah, Nubia picks up the magic apple, which comes from a god, and she basically has this vision where she's with Hippolyta, and Hippolyta says that Nubia's destroyed everything. As soon as I was gone, you ruined everything. And then I don't know who this character is. I don't know if we're meant to yet, but this mysterious hooded figure looks kind of like Death in a lot of ways. A black cloak.
So yeah, it looks like Xanatos, which is the Greek god of the dead, of the dead, not Hades. It's a little bit different. It's kind of death personified in Greek mythology. So I'm wondering if that's what this is Nubia's fearing the death of the Amazons.
That makes enough sense. But she snaps out of it, and they all get together, and they get teleported to, and this is meant to be where Yara's tribe is, right? This is meant to be in the rainforest, but things aren't where they're supposed to be, and quite quickly, as they're looking around, looking for where they are and where the people are, they find someone unconscious, who does start to wake up. But then the final page is that there's some kind of building at a dock called Asylum, and this is where Yara's people are supposed to be, but instead this building's here, and it also seems to be on fire, and so it's a complete weird mystery cliffhanger. And in the little caption says, what is Asylum? Where's the Esquisita? And what does Nubia's vision mean? So it's just that's the next time on kind of caption.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, I'm curious. Like, I really enjoyed the issue. The ending's a bit of a WTF kind of like moment, but I mean they're reacting like that too. They're like, what the hell's going on here? So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
Definitely. I just this is making me want to go back and read the Lazarus Planet tie-in that I skipped. Revenge of the Gods. Just to see about how much of the season, because that was also Josie Campbell. I just skipped it because of Lazarus Planet, or was it? Yeah, it was Lazarus Planet, right? Yeah, not Night Terrors. So, just so tired of that.
I will say, I think the word asylum here, I think it's more meaning asylums as an asylum seeker, as opposed to an Arkham asylum where the crazy people are going.
Which that was the original intention of an asylum, right? It was to help people and give them, and then now it's become there's a negative connotation to it. So, because I don't remember much of the Escasita, because I also stopped reading the War of the Amazon stuff. So it's not a big holdup, but it is a thing where I'm like, okay, was this building here before? Like, is it supposed to be here? Because the thing that I've seen with the Escasita is all very, tropical version of what's going on over in Themyscira, right? They're living in houses and all this stuff, not this big, looking like a carrier that fell, like a shield helicarrier. So
yeah,
but no.
I mean, the fact that the caption saying "What is Asylum" implies this is not meant to be here. So I think that's for sure. I don't think that's even a question.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But like, what was it? Did they shoot this down? Did this just appear? Is this another? Was this from the AXE organization, right? That found this tribe of Amazons. So,
yeah, I mean, given that it says Asylum, was this like taking the Amazons that were being deported somewhere and got shot down? Like, that's kind of the vibe that's given me. But no, I think Josie Campbell's pacing and dialogue is really good. I think the voices she has for the characters is great, and I'm also very much enjoying the art. I think the action sequences in the city street all look really good. The sense of motion and speed's fantastic. The layouts flow really well. This was a very easy, cozy read to me. That was making me laugh occasionally, and I was into this. And it's a great little complimentary book to what's going on in Wonder Woman, which obviously it's not going to have the same heavy tone as that book, because King's weaving magic with that one. But I think this is a fun little tie-in to it, and I'm learning between this and the Mary Marvel book that I like Josie Campbell. So cool.
Me too.
So, yeah. All right. Well, okay. What are you giving?
I'm gonna go 8.5 with this one.
Yeah, I think I'll just go to straight 8. Like, I think it's really solid and good, but I think I'll just leave it there. So, Alan Scott, Green Lantern issue 2, Tim Sheridan writing with CIan Tormey on the art. So, I was very mixed on the first issue of this. I liked the story overall and what it was doing, but Tim Sheridan's writing, I've not been into it in previous attempts to read his stuff, and I found it very wordy. So I wanted to give at least issue 2 a try. Gorgeous front cover as well, might I add. It's just it's Alan sitting in Arkham Asylum, but it's just the green light, but with the shadow of the gate up against him. Really, really nice stuff. So sadly, I feel kind of similar about this issue, which is I like the story. I like everything it's telling me that's going on, and this idea that he self-checked in to the wing at Arkham Asylum to, basically stamp the gay out of him, right? To fix himself.
Yeah, because he felt his one true love is gone. Therefore, if he's going to be able to be fixed, it's going to be now. Yeah, and then realizes just how corrupt that process is.
Yeah, it tells
go ahead.
Yeah, it tells the story of him befriending the other people who are there, who did not come here voluntarily. They were put in here by their families or even by the state, because it's definitely illegal in this time to be gay and whatever. And him befriending a trans woman who is not allowed to be trans, who's been told constantly that he is a he, and that basically it seems like eventually gets a lobotomy to try and cure and again, cure in quotations here. So
that character, and just being a Spitfire, the character's name is Billy, and just being a Spitfire and kind of reminding Alan, just like, you are who you are, just be who you are, and just the fate that they ultimately meet, and just the horror that go on Alan's face. That's really the part of the issue that really resonated with me, and I wish the rest of it did, because once he gets out of Arkham and it just starts retelling the Green Lantern origin, it gets super murky, and I have not that I don't know any idea what's going on, it just kind of felt all over the place, and there wasn't that clear storytelling of the Arkham and him bonding with all of these people,
I actually like all of the story well enough. It's just the heavy narration, the heavy speech bubbles. There's just those pages where you get to them and there's just so many boxes to read, and it's not even the amount that's the problem in and of itself, because other writers can be relatively wordy. I mean, Tom King's Wonder Woman, we talk about that, how that's very dense, but everything flows really well. So even though it is a bit of a denser read and it takes a little bit longer, you tend to be, we both seem to tend to be really into it as we're reading it. Whereas with Tim Sheridan's writing, I constantly feel like I'm wanting to not read the next box, and I get kind of distracted very easily, and it doesn't take a lot to pull me out of the story, and it's really frustrating, because I really want to enjoy an Alan Scott story. And I think it's doing some interesting things with the time period and not pulling punches with all the homophobic stuff that he's having to put up with. This idea that when his military commander found out that he was in a relationship with was it Johnny, was his boyfriend?
Yeah.
basically because Alan helped save them all, out of respect, they didn't do anything immediately, but they said, but once you get back to shore, you have to go and fix this, and that's why, that's what set him on this path to go to Arkham and do all this. I think the story that it's telling is really great, and getting the build up to the new version of the origin with the train crash, which was that was always part of his origin, but now there was he's having romances and flings like on the train and stuff like that. So there's a lot more build up to it, but he's basically telling all this to his friend in not present day, but in the
3 years in the future, right?
Okay, I get they wanted to write that he had an accent, but I thought they laid it on a bit thick.
I hated reading it.
Yeah.
It was like reading Bizarro without any of the charm.
Look, I get that you want to get across that he's saying Moida, but to actually spell it as MOID, like AR or whatever, like it's just annoying to read. I didn't
Yeah. So every time it came to that guy, I just skipped over his dialogue. I was like, I'll piece it together because I hate reading it. And like when they write Bibbo kind of talks like that, but it's more like kind of that rough Scrabble, kind of like The Thing, where he shortens words, and it's like Superman, so they'll write, SUPAH. But this was laying it on thick, and I was like, I don't like reading it. So I would see the little cabbie hat. I'm like, all right, I'm skipping that. I'll fill it in later. I mean, that's why I got a little bit confused towards the end. It's just the whole lantern talking to him and the whole crimson flame versus the green flame. I think that's a nice take on the Starheart mythos, because it's talking about balance, right?
Yeah. Well, so, to be specific here. Him and his men, when he was in the military, were looking and investigating what was basically the Crimson Flame, and he speculates that the Green Flame reached out to him, for whatever reason. But I think the interesting part of this origin to me is that he was actually investigating the Crimson Flame, and it's like the Green Flame, to achieve balance, like chose him as an avatar to be like, hey, okay. Like, you're the good person who's near all this. You should be the one who sort of gets the power to fight it, kind of thing. Yeah. But I think it's interesting because, so much when it comes to superheroes, even if you take, like, the regular Green Lantern stuff from later with Hal and, it's the green power that he ends up discovering and finds him. It's all very much kind of like, there's still the element where the ring picks him because he's the right person for the job, but he encounters a Green Lantern first. I kind of like the idea of a hero encountering the villain first, or the villainous force in this case, before, and then that leads to him becoming the hero, kind of thing. I don't know. It's just it's a little bit flipped from how it's normally done, and I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah, I like that, and I hope that it really plays off of, because Alan Scott's not a traditional Green Lantern with the hope and all that stuff. It's more magic based, but I hope they lean in the courage that, like, he's taking the courage to be himself in a time where it actually is dangerous. Yeah. That's also why the green...
It's funny that we keep saying he's not a traditional Green Lantern when he was first, but our perception of what a Green Lantern is has changed so much because of what was established after him, but yeah.
Right, because the Gardner Fox came in and said, we're not doing trains, we're doing space, and all that stuff. But yeah, the fact that he's living, he's attempting to live his true life in a time where it's very dangerous to do that. And I'm hoping that's what, and it's his care for other people as well, like Billy, the trans woman. That's what's making it click for him. That's why the green flame is drawn to him. It's his soul. It's his star heart, if you will. That's calling to it. It's not giving the green flame a choice on who to pick. It's just, and so I like that. I just, like you're talking about the overwriting. I just was like, this took me forever to read because I didn't want to read it.
Yeah. And there's maybe just a few too many characters being mentioned in the last couple of pages, which is a shame because I actually like this idea of like, okay, whoever this villain is who's got the red flame, it's someone who knows him. It's someone who knows a lot of these people from his past. But he kind of casually mentions a few different people from his past, particularly someone he had a fling with after he left Arkham, which I felt like like, okay, I think I know who you're talking about because you mentioned it earlier on the issue, but it just it was a little bit just too many things going on and stuff. Then again, but I do appreciate this issue was more focused than the last one. But I think reading this convinced me that I don't think I'm going to enjoy reading any more of this, despite the fact that I like this story and I like the character. So, sadly, I think I'm done with this book now.
Depending on what drops next week, if we have stuff around next month when it comes out, I'm open to reading the third one. If I'm slammed, like it was like this week, and I could drop a book justifiably, I probably will. But
it was kind of like I went into this in the Flash this week with like, okay, these are the two that are kind of, you know, they're teetering, and I kind of came out of it going, no, I'm feeling more positive about the Flash and wanting to read more of that than I am this, which is a shame, but it just is what it is. I just don't like Tim Sheridan's writing, and you know, not that I've read much from Tim Sheridan, but I read at least one of the shorts that he did with Tim Drake before the ongoing or the miniseries launched, and didn't really like that either. So I just don't think the way he writes just isn't for me. I don't think.
Yeah, because the other things he did with Titans Academy, I just pulled it up.
Oh yeah, I tried that and wanted to like that and couldn't either.
He co-wrote with Johns and Adams Flashpoint Beyond, which we liked Flashpoint Beyond for the most part.
That's true, but there's other writers in the mix there.
But there's other writers, so yeah, I'm trying to look at some of the other stuff that I've read from him, like his Shazam book that came out of Titans Academy. I tried and it wasn't for me.
Yeah,
so,
again, I read one issue, wasn't for me. So it clearly there's a trend here of just not liking his writing. But hey, all right, what are you rating Alan Scott Green Lantern issue 2?
I'm gonna give a 7 because the art is still pretty strong. There's a lot to like, but
they're solid.
You know, it just misses. Yeah,
I am going with a 6. It's like I'll give it just over the halfway point because, like you say, the art's still solid. I think the story concepts are still pretty good, and I was interested in reading them, but I just think it was a bit of a chore to actually get through. So yeah, 6 out of 10.
Yep.
All right, Power Girl issue 3. Leah Williams writing with Eduardo Pansica on the art. This is another Matt only book, so take it away.
This is the issue where Leah Williams made me upset over this lion that I don't even know, right? But so Paige survives her attack from the alien guy, the symbiote ship that attached to him, this Kryptonian virus, right? And she's on the second Fortress of Solitude that Bendis created, the one that's in the Caribbean. And Clark comes down and is like, hey, you got to get this figured out. I know you're working on it. And Clark's he's not dismissive, but it's almost like, Paige, you know what you need to do. I can't do it for you. That's kind of his vibe. And so he's like, yeah, it couldn't be the symbiote ship. We dealt with that ago. And she's like, she's trying to tell him about the nightmare she had because that's what the Night Terrors issue is about. And that's where Clark's kind of like, well, you know what you need to do. And so she goes into the fortress. She still doesn't trust Keelix because she has this kind of, I don't want to say a phobia of robots, but because of the stuff with the symbiote ship, she doesn't trust them. So she's been going and sitting next to this Kryptonian lion or this alien lion that's really old. And anytime that she has time to think, she's been going here. And she realizes it's because she doesn't want the lion to die alone. He's the last of his kind. He's, and so she sits with him and she's starting to ponder things. And she's like, I know why I do this is I feel a kinship with this lion. He's the last of his kind. I'm the last of my kind. He has no one else to rely on. I have no one else to rely on. And Keelix kind of, also reminds her that, Omen's there and Streaky's there. And she does have people. She is just choosing to be isolated. And then it cuts over to Omen, and she's like rollerblading through Metropolis, and she sees these blue earthers attacking refugees. And I don't know if they were War World or just regular refugees, but the point was they were different. So Omen ends up using her magic and her telepathy and all that type of stuff to essentially get them to stop. And that part of the story is showing that she asked them why, and the Blue Earthers tell her there's a Kryptonian virus that only attacks humans, and it's making its way to the United States, and so they need to not let anyone else in because they have to watch out for them. So again, there's a lot of right-wing talking points coming out of Blue Earth. And then it gets back to Paige, and she looks into the lion area, and he's gone. And she starts, she talks about, stuff that she knows about cats, so that when cats know that the time's up, they'll go because they want to go be by themselves to die. And she's like, yeah, some people think it's from a predation thing to where they don't want them to draw in any predators. And she finds that the lion got out of its enclosure and is sitting on this cliff face overlooking the ocean. So she goes and she sits with the lion, and she starts thinking about her life and how she needs to get her act together, and she's stronger than this. And she looks over, and the lion has passed. And again, this is a lion that I did not care too much about, but just Leah Williams writing through Paige's stuff, it made me super emotional. And it's probably because I'm an animal lover and all this other stuff, but just seeing how much she cares for this lion really, really went a long way. So Paige is sad. She heads back in. She talks to Keelix, and her super hearing goes off, and she's like, wait, that's the lion's heartbeat. It should not be going. And she turns around, and it attacks her, and it has that virus that has been, that she came down there to investigate. Keelix ends up contacting Superman. Superman comes in and cannot find Paige. And when he turns the corner in the fortress, she is all digitized out, infected with this Kryptonian virus, teasing, that it is the symbiote ship, and it wants to assimilate her. And that's where the issue ends. So, again, Leah Williams' Paige is really, really starting to grow on me. I've been a big fan of, the Supergirl archetype, but Power Girl is always... Just because I felt like DC didn't know what to do with her, I like that Leah Williams is carving out a niche for her as this kind of loner of the super family, but it's only because of her own doing. And that through whatever this little adventure is she is going to learn her place there. And the trust from Clark and Lois and all of those people. She just has to want it herself. But yeah, no, it's really good. The art is... it's decent. It's not it's Pansica, so it's a little bit sketchy in parts, but when the lion attacks her, it's this big splash page. It looks really nice. And then at the end, when she's being taken over by the virus, there's a lot of weird wonky angles that the art's going to kind of show this is a technological, a techno-organic virus. So he does good there, but yeah, some of the other the faces and some of the finer details seem to miss, but that's kind of what my experience with Pansica is from the beginning, from back on his time on Flash. But yeah, it's so far 3 issues in, it's pretty good. So I'm going to give this a 7.5.
All right, cool. That'll take us on to City Boy issue 6, Greg Pak writing with Minkyu Jung on the art. So as the conclusion to this story, and we ended last issue with the city starting to take form, the avatars sort of appearing, because City Boy, after finding out what happened to his mother and finding her grave effectively hidden in the green, he is heightened emotions, everything's going down. Swamp Thing's try to talk him down. And he's even trying to show him, look, hey, the city's trying to, all this concrete and stuff's rising up and it's trying to connect to Bloodhaven. This is really bad. But then Intergang intervenes And the evil professor's like, haha, yes, city boy, feel it in you, let it flow through you. He goes all emperor. He starts talking like he's the emperor from Star Wars. But he wants all this. And he's like, yeah, we're going to create one big city. It's going to be glorious, and it's all in the spirit of your mother. Like, your mother's like soul is embedded in the city that you're going to create, and this is the best thing for you. Swamp Thing, and I actually appreciated that Swamp Thing wasn't just a one and done. Like, he actually ends up being like a recurring character throughout this entire issue, trying to talk down City Boy. And then we see Dick, Bruce, and Clark all like in their various cities being like, hey, there's these big robotic or concrete like monsters are back. And Batman's like, the city boy did this. And Dick and Clark are a bit more sympathetic towards him, and Clark's like, no, trust him. He just needs to gain control. He just needs to remember what it is. But parademons show up and start fighting all the heroes, and the idea is to keep them all busy whilst City Boy continues to do what he's doing. To the point where a version of his mother kind of is formed out of concrete and stuff. And it's all, it's all building up. Hell, the scientist even drops a dark side is on us. We get a dark side is.
Yeah, so just the idea that Batman's like, nah, the city boy's got to be taken out, and Dick and Clark are like, no, let's give him time, man. Swamp Thing's down there working with him. I like that characterization here, because Batman knows the greater good. So all these cities are coming together, but it's what Makari-san tries to tell City Boy, and about like, oh no, yeah, your mother loved the city because of all these structures and all this other stuff, and it's Swamp Thing points out at the end that it's not. It's like the green, right? The green is about the connections to it, and it's not the city; it's the people. That his mom, that's what really it's about, is the people. And I like that was the through line with of course, Dick and Clark, right? Is like, they're going to be the ones that trust the person in all of this.
Yeah, and Superman starts talking to the avatar, the big concrete avatar that's in Metropolis, thinking, oh, this is connected to City Boy, he'll hear me. And he's basically, City Boy sees like the people running for their lives and being scared in the city from the parademons. And this, kind of makes him snap out of it. He says stop. And Swamp Thing starts to intervene with the vines to take out the Intergang soldiers at this point. But basically, City Boy looks up at this sort of statue that's been created of his mother with his powers, and he's like, I really wanted to find my mother. I dreamed of this, but this is a lie. This isn't her. So you just want me to grow this city for your own purpose. I'm not going to do it. So this all builds up to him effectively letting go of her and sort of moving on to some extent. So we see all the avatars all fall down in the various cities, and City Boy was able to save the day, and he's feeling bad that he kind of wrecked the forest and Swamp Thing's like, no, don't worry, the green will regrow, like it'll live, it'll even thrive, things will change. But we see that there's an actual tombstone for his mother where the previous makeshift one was. And Superman, Batman, and Dick are here now. And Batman even says something kind of sweet where he's like, be grateful you at least got a chance to love her, even if you're not sure if she ever really loved you. And like Superman and Dick are like, oh, that was actually kind of nice. Batman just kind of grunts. He's like, don't point it out. Like, don't point out that I'm being nice and sentimental. So like, it has a proper ending. The whole story's been about him getting over the fact that he was abandoned by his mother, and him never getting like a proper conclusion to that and closure, and that was being exploited by the villains. But he ultimately was able to like, no, I'm not going to have other people suffer because of what I'm going through. And then the end of the issue is him giving a Nightwing toy to a kid who lost theirs in the city chaos, and it just walks off with him, feeling good about himself. Mm-hmm. That's the end of the story. I think this has been a really interesting thing. The idea of tying his city powers into a concept like the Green with Swamp Thing, it definitely goes along with what Ram V was doing with his Swamp Thing run about the Parliament of Gears and all that stuff. So it was really kind of interesting to have this character effectively be the natural avatar for cities. It's just that he's not made out of city. He's just a regular kid, but
right. He's a person, which is what that point was. Is it's the people that make the cities, not the cities that make the people.
Yeah.
And he's a member. He's kind of like a member of each city he goes through because he can talk to them. And I like that idea, like that he finds that Nightwing toy for the kid, because that's how we were introduced to him, right? He was finding things and selling them. So it's connections to people now, instead of him just looking for stuff to sell to get by. He helps this kid out because he's learned, that might not make him a hero, but it's more heroic than looking out just for himself.
Yeah, it was an interesting character with a cool story. It's a really solid little 6-issue mini. It's a very neat ending, so I don't think they ever need to do more with them. That said, though, I think his powers could lead to cool stories, but I don't feel like they're building to anything necessarily. Whereas Vigil clearly ended with a no, there's more of this. Like, this is not the end of this story. This is more of a neat finish conclusion. So, if you've been listening to us talk about this as it comes out and you're thinking about getting the collection or whatever, like, it is a full story. You get a satisfying ending. So, it's good stuff. So, what were you giving City Boy, Matt?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
I'm happy to go with the 8 in this. I think it was a solid ending. So. 8 out of 10 for me. But that'll take us out of the final part of the show, which is where we pick our favourite stuff of the week, favourite panel/moment, favourite cover, favourite art, and top 5 books. Matt, what was your favourite panel/moment of the week?
Okay, so I want to put out shouts to Superman in the suit of armor, because that was super dope.
Of course you do. Yep.
Right, but thinking about it, it has to be something from Titans Beast World, because that was full of so many. And I'm gonna pick when Dick sticks up for Gar.
Sure.
And tells Batman just to back off, because that shows the Titans for what they are, and that is a family. Like, I feel like the Justice League is a bunch of coworkers and they all care for each other, but the Titans really are a family. And so for Dick to talk down Bruce, who's like the most intimidating person in the DCU, in defense of his friend, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, there's a few to pick from. I think there's a couple of moments from Penguin that I could easily pick. There's absolutely a moment from Detective, I think, towards the end when, like, Selina makes her bluff and it's just no-sold by the villains. I think that's a really great moment you could do. But obviously Beast World has a lot of big, heavy-hitting moments. The reveal of the Beast on Titan, or even obviously the big moment of Garrow like making his debut. Like, those are all good. As far as picking one goes, I think I think I will go with the end of Detective. I think I'll go with the gamble that is met with just, I don't care, kill him. So yeah, that's my pick. Cover of the week, there's a few that I'll point out. I really like the Liam Sharp variant for Detective, which is the Cassandra Wanted poster, the Wanted Batgirl poster.
I like it, that one. I must have missed that one.
Yeah, really neat and simple, but I like it. The regular action covers, good as they have been, because they've all been that same artist, Beach, I think it is. There's a couple of interesting variants, though, particularly the Francesco Tomaselli variant. It's got kind of a cool look to it.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
Yeah, it's Clark in the old 50s style, business suit, standing
Fedora.
standing in front of the Superman logo with Superman flying through it. It's a nice thing. Honestly, my pick, despite the fact that I was very mixed on the book and don't want to read any more of it, Alan Scott Green Lantern had a fantastic main cover. Like that main cover with the shadow of the Arkham Asylum gate, like hitting them with the green light is just wonderful. It's just gorgeous. It's atmospheric. Great stuff. What's your pick?
So there's Amazon Attacks has a Danny variant that is Viara. That looks really cool. It's kind of got her in the foreground and then like a shadow filling up the negative space behind her. That looks really good. You brought up that Action Comics cover already. That was another one I had earmarked. But mine, it's going to be from Power Girl, and it's a Dodson's variant, but it's got Supergirl and then traditional Power Girl and then Paige, and they're doing that meme of the guy turning and checking out, the other girl. But it's all three versions of Kara, basically, right?
Oh, Jealous Girlfriend? The
the Jealous Girlfriend one. But it's got, Supergirl, and then it's got, Power Girl as we know her, the Karen Star version, and then the girl facing us walking by is the new Paige with the jacket and all of that. Once I realized that's what it was doing, like I already like the Dotson's art as it is, but that gave me quite a chuckle. So that one's mine.
Okay. All right. Art of the week.
Oof. I mean, let's shout out Reis a little bit for Beast World, right? But is there any other choice but Detective? Between the Wingard and the Jason Shawn Alexander art.
I mean, I think Penguin has a fight in the.
Okay. I mean, that's good too. I'm not gonna disagree, but mine's definitely gonna be Detective.
I mean, mine's is Detective too. I'm just saying Penguin.
Okay,
I think is it's absolutely worth throwing into the pile here.
Yeah.
All right, top 5 books, Matt.
All right, so number 1 is going to be Detective. 2 is going to be Action. 3 is going to be. I'm just double checking all of these. 3 is going to be the Ping. Or no, 3 is going to be Titans, Beast World. 4 is Titans, and 5 is.
Wait, whoa! You said Titans twice.
Oh no, did I? So I did Detective, Action, Titans, Penguin, and I'm trying to decide on the 5th spot if I give it to Power Girl or Flash. You know what? Because I laughed so much in Flash, I'll give it to Flash.
Sure. I will go number 1, Titans Beast World, number 2, Detective, number 3, Penguin, number 4, Action, number 5, Amazon's Attack. That's there you go. Top 5s of the week. I will now tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics. We have Batman 140, Poison Ivy 17, Shazam issue 6, Birds of Prey issue 4, Blue Beetle issue 4, Fire and Ice Welcome to Smallville issue 4, Titans Beast World Tour Metropolis issue 1, Batman Santa Claus Silent Night issue 1, Titans Beast World Waller Rising issue 1, Superman 78 The Metal Curtain issue 2, and Scooby-Doo Where Are You 125. So it's a quieter week, although the 2 Titans Beast World tie-ins do beef it up a bit. I've got I think 5 books then. Actually, am I reading this Silent Night bollocks? What was this again?
So that's Batman versus Santa.
Oh, it's Jeff Parker. Okay, yeah, we are reading this. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely happening. All right, so
I remember that in the solicits.
Okay, so I've got 6 books then. That's actually still a reasonable amount. They've definitely beefed up the numbers a little bit from a few months ago.
Yeah. So looking at the Beast World one, the Waller Rising looks like it's just one writer. It's Chuck Brown with art by Kieran Grant.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect from that.
Yeah, but it seems like it's just going to be about, it says, Batwing, Vixen, Val Zod, and Black Manta must stop Dr. Hate. So that's going to be Dr. Hate focused. And then the Metropolis has a lot more writers. It looks like there's 4 writers. And it's just essentially, there's going to be the Metropolis characters.
There's a Dan Jurgens story, there's a Sleeper story, because Nicole Maines is writing one. Joshua Williamson's doing a story.
And Zachariah Smith. Yeah, so and they're both 48 pages, so they're not too crazy.
No.
But
yeah, and I'll do my Patreon books next week as well. So that's that is the plan for next week. So yeah, of course you could let us know what you thought of the books in the comments, and do hit the like button on YouTube. It helps more people find the show. Rate the podcast 5 stars on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. All those things do help. Get us on the Twitters at DC Comics Podcast. But of course, you can support the show and support everything, including all the other things that MailFuzz Movies and MailFuzz TV do, by going to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and supporting us over there. You get the Comics Podcast a little bit early, whenever it's ready, late on the Saturday. And yeah, so if that sounds good, then go check it out. But that is the show, so thank you very much for joining. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.